They censor here, they censor there. No jokes allowed, not anywhere. He will fake a hate crime and pretend that he's oppressed, 'cause he's a dedicated follower of fascists. He'll make a fuss about his pronouns. He's bourgeoisie from London town, eagerly enforcing all the latest fads and trends, 'cause he's a dedicated follower of fascists. Oh yes he is, oh yes he is. He desperately seeks power to corrupt that. And when he looks so silly chanting Tommy is for right, he looks a dedicated follower of fascists. Oh yes he is, oh yes he is. There's one thing that he loves and that is battery. One week it's the handicapped, the next week it's your wife, 'cause he's a dedicated follower of fascists. They censor here, they censor there. Freedom of speech in disrepair. Everywhere the Corbynista army marches on, each one a dedicated follower of fascists. Oh yes he is, oh yes he is. His world is built round endless debt from college. He'll never seek a proper job but claim that he's oppressed, 'cause he's a dedicated follower of fascists. Oh yes he is, oh yes he is. His lynch mob throws a straw and flaps like butterflies. With mockery and banter he's as fickle as can be, and he's a dedicated follower of fascists. He is a dedicated follower of fascists. He's a dedicated follower of fascists.
Good evening and welcome to another exciting show. And I do hope that has actually stopped, that music, because last time it carried on and on and on. And that was Happy Days Are Here Again. Well, welcome to another exciting show. And all the way from Wisconsin, it's Patrick. Good evening, Patrick. Or good afternoon, Patrick, sorry, in Wisconsin.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's 2:04. So, yeah, we're just
2:04?
we're in early afternoon here. Beautiful
And
day.
same here. It was a beautiful day, although it's pitch black outside now. Anyway, welcome to another exciting show. And let's have a look in chat. Who is the first? It's Paul Mohammed. And it's hello all. I'm looking for the Rumble link, and it has not started yet. But I'm a bit of an early bird this time. Well, Paul, you can have a free 2-finger salute or an American 1-finger salute of any politician or celebrity of your choice. So far away. So it's up to you. And we got someone said that's life and as we know it. Is that Chris the Gardener singing? No, it wasn't. It was a chap called
Bostock. Daniel Bostock.
Thanks, mate. Daniel Bostock. Now, what was it? And then you got hang on, it's gone a bit funny. Here we are. And the chat's gone funny again. We've got Sparkle 36, even though it's not showing Sparkle 36 in Hi All. And we got that's it. It's the dedicated follower of fascists. Well, tonight we're going to speak about, what are we going to speak? Mind infiltration. And it's one of my theories that, and I may have mentioned this before, that they've taken people back to a childlike state. literally brainwash people. And if you look at society, I'm old enough to remember it, 40 odd years ago, people were much more mature because it was the Second World War generation that ran things then. But what's happened over this last 40 years, there's a reason why we're having constant shock news, worry all the time. This is going to happen, that's going to happen, because shock does some very strange things to you. Now, obviously, if someone tiptoes up behind you and so it goes boo, then that's only going to last a few matter of seconds. But shock can bring us back to our childhood, and it often does. It brings out a childlike state. When a person's in deep shock, they go back to their childhood 9 times out of 10. And well, I had a situation where I thought I was having a nervous breakdown where I wasn't. And luckily, I got the help that I needed by some miracle from what I would have least expected. And I found out that I was in shock. But it was a minor shock, which actually brought out a shock that had been stored deep inside since my childhood. But that's a long story, and I won't go into it. But it was one of the best things that ever happened to me, and it brought out. I see the world in a completely different way now to the way when I sort of was having what I thought was a breakdown, but it wasn't. It was shock. But now Palo 2 says, Palo 2 says, shock keeps you in a state. Yes, it does. I mean, Patrick, have you ever been in some sort of shock at all, or had anything like that happen to you?
Oh, it happens almost weekly to me.
Really?
There's always something going on that's shocking, but the state of stress where you're wondering about what's going to happen next or what you're going to do. I think that shock. There are degrees of it. Minor stress over something. I used to get into kind of a state of shock, like being a farmer. You kind of get in a shock when you first start learning how to do things like slaughtering and butchering animals and that sort of thing, because
That
you
must
see
have
the
been an awful
behavior.
thing to do.
Yeah, it is kind of an awful thing to do at first.
Yeah, it's when you get used to it.
Yeah, it becomes second nature, and it's not a big deal anymore. But that first overcoming that, it's just like, wow, it's something else. But then you realize, hey, well, this is where your food comes from, and it's part of nature.
Well, that's it. I mean, as long as it's done humanely, that's the main thing, and that is
Right.
taking the animal out. And I think that the way they used to do it, apparently, is there used to be long grass and long, and the hunters would creep up, and they did this in North America and I think Australia. They'd creep up, and because they've got spears and bows and arrows, the animals wouldn't hear them. And 1 minute it'd be grazing away, next minute it's ended its dinner jacket, boom, it's out. And the other animals just wouldn't notice it. It was a very humane way of doing it. And I think that there is humane ways of doing things because we are meat eaters. And I used to be a vegetarian, but it didn't work for me. But I admire vegetarians. I've got nothing against vegetarians at all. But we've got Mark Anthony in chat. Hello, mate, and thanks
Hey, Mark.
for done. Hello, Mark, and and where are we? Evening all. Looking forward to the show. Oh, we got Alice Gorgeous. Hello, Alice Gorgeous. What a lovely name, Alice Gorgeous.
It's just
Yes,
gorgeous.
it is, isn't it? Couldn't you add Princess Alice Gorgeous? Wouldn't that be nice? Princess Alice Gorgeous.
Princess Gorgeous.
We've got Stephen Truthseeker. But hello, Stephen. Now, the thing is that I feel that it is easy to say people are stupid, people are thick, and things like that. I mean, I've felt very embarrassed. When a precocious child shows off or does a tantrum, it's a kind of cringing, embarrassing moment or anything like that. I actually found that when I saw that Tommy Trousers march, I felt cringing embarrassment. How did you feel, Patrick? Did that give you a twinge of embarrassment in any way?
I've seen enough of them to not be kind of embarrassed by it. It's very childish behavior, and that's just it. You know, we when someone lacks understanding in a particular thing, and especially when they're an adult and they should know better, it's a different situation than a child. But even at it, you see it in children. It's just a shock to the system when they don't get their way. They throw a tantrum
Yeah.
when they've been pampered most of their lives, and then they suddenly realize that they don't always get their way.
Well, that's
It's a
right.
eye opening.
Well, I think also, um, I've noticed a lot of people are very immature now. Now, I don't mean that in a smug sort of way, because we all have our immature moments. But I'm talking about um, worshipping idols that will lead them nowhere. And as I said, I don't know if you're in my on my tele. By the way, I'm on Gab now. Gab has now opened up in the UK again. So details are down below. So I've got a Gab site. You on Gab, Patrick, at all?
Yeah, it's something I don't look at much, but I've been on there for quite a while.
Well, well, they actually you couldn't get on it in this country, and you couldn't even get on it if with via a VPN.
Yeah, it's like
And now suddenly it's
BitChute,
come back. Yeah. Oh, you can buy a VPN with BitChute, but I've actually
right?
found that even though it's based in, I think is it Slough or somewhere? Yeah.
Well, most of these VPNs, it's just that you need to get a list of how many end up back in Tel Aviv, and then they go reroute it everywhere else.
That's right, that's right. But as I say, I with Telegram, not Telegram, with I like Telegram. With Facebook, I'm finding that it's okay on my site, Fockham Hall site, and I've got we've got several hundred people on there. But there was another site I was on, and I'm posting videos, adverts for these videos, and they're just not going on there. They're being held back for some unknown reason. I don't know why. So I've given up with it. You
Freedom of
know.
speech, not freedom of reach. That's
Oh,
that's the saying that's out there. That was the Elon Musk thing when he came in. It's like you have freedom to say whatever you want, but if we don't like what you're saying, it won't get out anywhere beyond where we want it to be, and
yeah,
you're leashed to an algorithm.
that's right. That's right. Barefoot Forager has written a very interesting item. I had to learn to kill the cockerels that I hand reared. Tears your soul, but important to feel.
No,
Really?
cockerel is that's the bird, the chicken,
Yeah.
the rooster.
Cockerels, yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I don't know anything about chicken rearing, so I wouldn't know. I mean,
Well, you don't want too many roosters in a hen house. They fight each other, and they don't get
mm,
along very well,
well, I would
typically.
think they're after the hens, aren't they? Really? That's,
Yeah, they have their harem of of chicks.
yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a terrible thing. Um, Warren Ap Arthur says that is good news. Gab again. Yep, yep. Eric Von Essex, I'm on there. Now Paul, we call you Paul, all right? Hello. Immature comes with education. They start you young. Yes,
Well,
you've
and
got.
part of it too is these schoolmasters and the people that educate, so to speak. They get paid from the public coffer to teach children that are offered up by their parents to be orphaned and educated by someone other than themselves while they go to slave away at a job. It
Yeah,
gradually deteriorates because you get women in the workforce doing men's jobs, and then they
mm,
have to compete. They don't have any real
yeah.
incentive to keep their children at home.
Well, that's
It's
it.
a pity.
Well, that's what's happened. It's we've got what they used to call latchkey kids, and that is the children come home from school and there's no one there, there's no parent at home, and they just get a latchkey, go in, and the meal's on the table, and that's it, sort of thing. Or they have to put it in a microwave or whatever. I mean, I don't have a microwave, but that is what's actually happened, and it's very very sad. Um, I guess it's similar in America. We get the latchkey kids as well. I mean, when I came home from school, my mum was always there. That was
Well,
it.
it's younger and younger too. They go for as time has gone on. They when I was say like 4 or 5 years old, they had
Mm.
kindergarten, and then you
Yeah,
go into the first grade in the public schools.
really.
Nowadays, they bring babies into these schools where they
Mm.
have a nursery in the public school. That's
And
how it's cradle to grave education. I
well,
think that's kind of the communist
it's mind
idea.
infiltration. Mind
Yeah.
infiltration. Because now women accept, oh, they're going to go back to work because they need to go back to work to earn to pay for a massive mortgage.
Yeah, we just pop them out and then go
Yeah,
back to slaving away at a job with a boss who doesn't care about you like your husband does.
and your baby is brought
And
up
your
by someone else.
baby's brought up by somebody else. The best
And
years of
strangers.
their life is spent
Mm.
with someone else who doesn't care as much as that mother and that father.
And you notice in tribal uh, places, the baby stays next to the mother for a long time, several
Mhm.
years,
Yes.
and there's a bond between. And this is what people don't understand. That bond is broken, and I think this could answer a lot of questions of why we've got problems in society today. I really do believe that. I mean, I don't know anything about child rearing, but it just seems odd to me. I mean, I was next to my mother, and you're probably next to your mother when I was very, very young. And when I went to school, it was quite a shock actually because I was quite happy in the garden, and running around the garden. And the next minute, I'm dragged off this horrible building, and I thought I'd done something wrong. But what am I doing here?
And
But
I noticed Barefoot Forager's comment. I'm not talking about.
mm,
I'm talking about ideals. I'm not talking about like the you know the powers that be and the way things are as they are. You
is
have
that is
single
that the
mothers
comment?
bringing up their children that can't afford to do it any other way. So that the ideal is that you keep your child with you, and the mother can stay at home and raise the children when they're very young, and the father
Mm.
has a wage earning job where he can provide for the family, a family income. That's the
Well,
ideal. That
well,
really is the
yeah.
ideal.
Well, Barefoot Wanderer said, "Women doing men's jobs. Can you justify that statement? Asking as a single mum who is the sole breadwinner, should I co-parent with the state on benefits?"
Well, that's just it. Though, no, what I'm talking about is the ideal. Like if you have
Mm,
children, ideally a child is begotten by a mother and a father, and ideally they would live together and love each other and have a good
mm,
happy family, and that's not always the situation. And you have children whose parents are, for one reason or another, not in their lives, whether they're dead or whether they're you know other circumstances. uh
mm.
that's when you have an orphanage. It used to be monasteries and convents would take care
Yeah,
of orphans.
that
So
was it.
and because they dedicated their lives, they took vows of chastity, poverty, and obedience,
Mm.
and they would take care of other people's children because they of love of God, and because they just love children, and no one else is there to raise them. So who better than someone who
Mm.
is willing to give their life to that and not do it just for a paycheck?
And nuns, I did hear that they treated the children like their own children. They loved them. They really loved the children and liked to see them get on and that type of thing. Did everything to help them get on in life, especially disadvantaged children. You hear a lot of bad things. You don't hear a lot of good things, though. And this is the trouble. They always, it's like the old story. What is it? A man bites dog. That isn't news. Sorry, dog bites man. That's not news. Man bites dog. That is news. And that's the thing. Um, but what used to happen with single parents and that is there was grandparents and there was a sort of a kind of pyramid
Still
of
are,
family.
in many
That
cases.
that's right, that would look after the children, or a neighbour would. And my mother told me they had things like, was it wet nurses? Have you heard of that? And
Yeah.
wet nurses
Oh, they used to
where
have that in ancient Greece and ancient
yeah,
times.
yeah, and this
Mo
happened in the
Mothers
Victorian
who
time.
lost their children and become a wet nurse for some wealthier family that could afford it, or some needy family that
Mm.
was in need.
But the thing is that people, folks tended to work things out for themselves, and it tended to work. But it's
Yeah,
the
and
only way that Big Brother. Yeah.
as
Sorry,
far as
carry on.
as far as education is concerned, who's going to look out for that child's best interests more than their mother and their father?
Precisely.
Yeah,
Precisely.
you can hope that if you give them off to a some sort of schooling, or something like that, a boarding school, whatever it might be, that you're giving it off to someone who's,
Mm.
at least cares about the children and does have like a fatherly or motherly instinct. But when you have so many and so few that are responsible for them, like you'll have a school where you have one teacher to 50 children or more. How
Mm.
can you possibly care for the needs of every single one of those
Spot
children
on.
and what's going on in their
Spot
lives?
on. And actually, there was a neighbour near, kind of not far from me, that went, and before they changed all the laws where it had to be a registered nursery and that, she used to look after kids during the day. There'd be a stream of cars dropping off their kids, a bit like dropping off baggage at an airport. It's awful, really awful. The best years of their lives, and it's sad. And I know that in third world countries, their women work, but they work with next to their children. Their children are with them as they're working. Have you ever seen
Right.
that? Like
Well,
in India and
that's
places.
that's what I'm talking about.
Mm.
Ideally, you would have a mother and a father. This is the ideal. This is not the majority these days, at least here. But you would have a mother and a father. The mother and the father lived in the house. Father likely would have a farm and doing farm work near the house, and was on call to be back at the house anytime. And you have
Mm.
the mother there taking care of the house and the children, and doing the cooking and cleaning and tending to the children and teaching the children. And what better way to have your mom there teaching you the
Agree.
basics?
I actually 100% agree. And I think it's terrible to tear a child away. I mean, look at these kids that go to public school. In public school in America, I know means something different, but public school in Britain is one of these dormitory type schools where they never don't see their parents for years.
Yeah,
And
I'm talking about government public
yeah,
schools here are different than
yeah,
that, where
that's
the
right.
bus comes and picks them up at 7 or whenever,
Mm,
and then they get off at 3 in the
that's it.
afternoon. Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Now, Jojo Gizmo has said, I'm on Gab Bitfam Bitfam group, Britfam group. Hmm. Oh well, I'll have to check that one out. And now, all these platforms are track, trick, and trace platforms. Yeah, yeah. Well, MI6 and MI5 and Mossad and Uncle Tom Cobley and all are listening in. I couldn't give. I got to the point there I couldn't give a monkey's. Could you? Now, Mark Anthony said, "Spot on, Patrick. Algorithms dictate what gets seen on Facebook, Twitter, etc." That's right.
They do.
Yeah.
I'll give an example to that. We got banned for life from Facebook Marketplace because I was selling Russian fur hats,
Really?
and they didn't give any reason whatsoever. I think it was because they were from Russia, but they no reason whatsoever, no appeal. Who do you appeal to? You don't just call up Facebook and say, "Hey, this
Huh.
why am I off of Marketplace?" And then you lose out on all these opportunities because everybody's on Facebook, everybody and their brother.
Well,
So it's
well,
like, who
well.
do you appeal to in these big tech organizations that seem to control things like Google? If you own a business and you get bad reviews on Google, what do you do? Yeah, or they don't put you on the map
Oh,
where
that's
they.
it. Well, on YouTube, I'm shadow banned. I'm positive, absolutely
Mm.
positive. Shadow banned on it, and on Facebook, I'm shadow banned as well. But again, with Gab, I don't think you get that so much. But uh, 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 we got here. What is it now? I go on. It says I go on TikTok doing UFO sky watching. Do you really? Sounds painful. TikTok. Yeah, I'm not into TikTok yet, but it's supposed to be quite good. Do you know anything about it at all? I mean, I haven't.
I tried it. You almost get attention deficit disorder watching these short clips.
Mm,
You flip through them, and it's I can't stand it because it does something to my attention span. I'd rather read a book than look at that stuff. It gets, but it's addictive. It's very addictive because you'll see things that you'll never see in your life,
mm,
all sorts of crazy situations, and then you just go from one, like you're saying, trauma. It's almost like a trauma type control. You look at one traumatic video and then you go to the next one and it's some crazy thing going on. It's so back to the
yeah,
theme of the show. It That kind of thing, the TikTok and the YouTube Shorts and all of these things contribute to that. The scrolling, they call it.
yeah.
You see people on their phones walking down the street scrolling,
Oh, you see
not
that
even
here as
looking up.
well. I'd tell you the best one. I saw a bloke on a push bike doing it. He's going down a hill.
Yeah.
His hands not on the handlebars. Now, I've ridden a bike for years,
Or you can
and
get some bad accidents on a bike.
I don't. And quite honestly, I cannot ride that bike, any bike, without putting my hands on the handlebars firmly. How do they do it? I don't know. It must be something to do with balance, but I can't do it. Now, Mark Anthony 72 said families years ago could live comfortably with just one parent working, so there was always a parent at home to care for the kids. That's right. That's right. That well, I was brought up in that era. My dad worked and my mum didn't. You know, I mean, that was it. Um, Now, I was talking about, that's it, boarding schools. I was talking about. I think you got them in the States as well. I used to have boarding schools. Do you have them?
Probably they're not so common.
Really?
No.
Yeah. Now, Alice Gorgeous, this is quite right what she said. Wet nurses breastfed babies. That's correct. If the mothers couldn't. Yeah. And they had that in the 1920s and 30s over in this country.
Yeah,
So,
a lot of those lost their babies when before they were weaned, so they were
mm,
still giving breast milk.
that's
Typical.
right.
Hence the
And
word wet nurse, wet.
yeah, if you're not learning from our peers, you're not evolving. That's right. And what we
Yeah,
learn from history is
but
we don't learn.
there is something to be said though as a child learning from your parents and someone who's more experienced in age, because
Yes.
you get to understand the social structure that you're moving into as you grow older. And I think a lot of this peer-based education structure is negative in that regard because you're always around your peers. 8 hours a day you're around people your same age, and you never get to associate much with people older than you or even younger than you. I don't think that's right either. I think that
Mm.
retards a person's growth
Yeah.
their
Well,
intellectual life.
I mean, school, what I could never understand is how you could go into one room and have maths blasted at you for about half an hour or an hour, go out of that room, go into another room and have geography blasted at you for another hour, go out of that room and into another. The human brain doesn't work like that. You know, and I think that the way they used to educate children, before it was all this sit up straight, listen, do this, that, and the other, was far better. And I've said this many times, there was a woman during World War II, because they evacuated children from the cities, the schools were overcrowded in the countrysides. And she took the children out and she educated them in the woods. And she said they were far more attentive and they learned a lot better in the fresh air with nature around them. It tells you something that does, doesn't it?
Yeah,
You know?
right. And then
Yeah.
we used to have one-room schoolhouses where it was all sorts of age groups. And what it's like these people who are afraid to have big families, they don't realize that as their children get older, the older ones help the younger ones along.
Yes, that's right. And oh dear, sorry, this Stephen. My mother used to put me in danger. Was
In danger.
what sort
What
of
kind of danger?
Well, if you're cold in the bath, you throw an electric heater in there and that
Yeah,
type of thing.
dangle you out the three-story
Yeah,
window or what?
yes, and but uh,
No, there are people that there are cases where you do have that kind of
mm,
parent, and it's tragic. I don't know what to
well,
say, but You're just as much as at risk of sending them to someone else who you have no clue about.
Well, that's right. And I think the way the elderly are looked after and dumped, I think is absolutely disgusting. I mean,
Right.
places like
That
Italy and France and the Aborigines in Australia, they'd look after their elderly. They
well,
care for their elderly.
and another thing about these neglectful parents, if they had to watch their children, they might become better parents as a consequence and might learn how to be a good parent if they had to have that responsibility. It's taken from them. They can just send their children off to the government daycare and don't have to worry about their children, go to work and come back and then, be abusive or whatever they're going to do. Whereas if you're forced to have your children with you, raise them, you're more likely to appreciate it more. You're more
Mm.
likely to understand, be more understanding and listen to your children, be able to talk with your children. A lot of people can't even talk with their children. They come home from school and they're like, "Hey, what did you learn from school?" "Oh, nothing." Yeah, and just
That's it. I mean, when I was at school, I hated history. I was boring because I'd sit there and he'd go on, they could drone on and on. Well, King Plonker went blah, 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 blah. And I actually found an old history book that I'd written. And this bloke used to write stuff on the blackboard. I don't think you're allowed to say that now, are you? Marker board. And you had to copy it down. And I copied it down 3 times without realising it because it's so boring. And then we had um, a temporary teacher came in whilst this bloke was on holiday. And this temporary teacher,
yeah, like you said, they're better than
yeah,
the original,
far
more
better.
interesting.
Oh, talk about
It tends to
interesting.
be true because they're not seeing the same children over and over again, and they're like, "Hey, children, you
Yeah.
wanna hear something cool? You wanna hear a war story?" That kind of thing.
Well, he did something that was unusual when I was at school because a teacher always sat behind their desk. You all had to sit there and watch the teacher. And again, it's still about mind infiltration, what we're saying here. And that was mind infiltration. But this teacher, he walked around and he said, make notes. He said, I don't want you to copy off the blackboard. Just make notes. And if you've lost something, copy off your mate. Now, that was you mustn't copy off your person next to
Yeah,
you.
that
This
true.
chap encouraged it.
Yep, that's good.
Oh,
That's right. That's that in
yeah,
other students teaching other students. The older ones teaching the
yeah,
younger ones typically is how that would go.
yeah,
But when you're in a peer group, it's like, no, no, then you get clicky and all this kind of stuff, and you don't wanna, "You're cheating,"
yeah,
and that kind of thing. Well, no, you wanna be able to help each other out,
yeah.
especially the slower ones, because
Well, well,
the
that's
slower
it.
ones hold everybody else behind,
Well,
and you
you
want them to
know,
catch up. So it's group effort to get them. It's just like in the military and the training, they want
yeah.
you help out the weakest person.
That's right, and that's what someone said in the 1930s, wasn't it? But we're not allowed to mention him. Who said the stronger help the weaker up. They don't push them down. They help them up. And this, he said, that's how society should be. The stronger help the weaker up. They
Mhm.
help them. And I
So the
think he's
teacher Oh,
that,
go ahead.
no, that's Mr. H. That was. It was long before our time. A famous painter and decorator in Austria.
Yeah. So you're talking about the substitute teacher that came in
No,
that
well, the substitute tutor coming up. I mean, I said quite a bit about him. I think on another show last week or the
Yep.
week before. But when the bell went, because they had a bell going, you had to go to the next class. We didn't want to get up. I can't remember. I think was it an hour? I can't remember how long you was in a class for. But normally you was chomping at the bit to get out that bloody door. On that particular, we would look forward to his lessons because he was so interesting, and you just sat and you were relaxed. Nobody played up. Nobody's looking out the window. Everybody was absolutely fascinated what he's got to say, and he involved everybody, you know. And he didn't show people up or anything like that. And he'd say he didn't set homework. He said, "I don't believe in homework." He said, "But what I want to know is, could German aircraft reach here in the First World War?" That's happened to anybody. And he said to the girl, because it was a mixed school, he said to the girls, he said, "Oh, something about factory workers, did women work in armaments and all that?" And the next lesson we had with him was fighting each other, giving him the information. That's how education should be. where it's interesting, not boring and rammed down your throat. But I think the funniest when I was at school was French. We had a Cockney teach us French.
Yeah.
God blimey, s'il vous plaît.
Yeah.
Come on, But anyway, we got there. Aunt Sally is saying, when I had my first child in 1979, you're not that old, Aunt Sally. You mean 1989 or 99? The nurses would ask us to donate breast milk for the premature babies. When I had my second baby in 1989, all that had stopped because of AIDS.
Really.
Well, that's interesting.
See, that's something too that really gets. It's just like the COVID stuff and the
Yeah.
mutations and all that goes with it. The evolution of the virus. It's ever evolving and ever changing. So you can always change the narrative around it and the restrictions around
Oh,
it.
that's right. That's right. And there's another one in the pipeline, isn't there? I think that's.
Well, what I didn't get about AIDS, and I remember this, and my cousin was in the same class as me, and he's like, "Where did AIDS come from?" And they're like, "Well, it came from monkeys." And it's like, "Well, how did people get monkey viruses? Well, if it's sexually transmitted?" And it's just like, yeah, well, you have to imagine what would go on for it to go from a monkey to a human, and then all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, did it really? Did it really? All these justifications of where it came from, and it's a lot of it's fairy tales that they just make up out of nothing,
That's
and
right.
expect you to believe it because of some other fairy tale they made up before that.
Looking at another thing, look at Disney films. They actually invented noises for the animals because they didn't know quite what the noises were these animals made. Plus, and this was in the 50s, they said that lemmings would commit suicide. They don't. It was a bloke with a bucket full of lemmings, throwing them with a camera at a low angle, throwing them over this little hill. And because lemmings were so boring, they decided to make them more exciting, and that was a complete lie. Lemmings do not commit mass suicide. Never had done, never will do. But they made that up. So people were saying, "Oh, he's acting like a lemming,"
Yeah, I remember a computer game when I, way back, and it was called Lemmings, and it was always you'd have the leading lemming, and all the rest of the lemmings would follow you around this map and maze, and you'd have to jump over this obstacle and that obstacle.
Yeah. It's always the same. Now, poor old Stephen Truseeker said, I've never been able to have a conversation with my mother. Their communication skills are zero. I was sorry to hear that. Unfortunately, my mother had a problem I can explain it. She went, when I was about 8 or 9, she went to hospital with a woman's problem, had an operation, and when she came out, she was a completely different woman. It was almost as if a demon had got into her. It's really strange. And she just got worse and worse and worse. So I look on it that she was demonic, and it might be the similar situation with yourself, Stephen. I mean, I'd say something to my mum. She said she just wouldn't be listening. She said, "Oh, I'm listening to you. I've been listening to you all morning. Yeah, blah, 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 blah." And everything was more important than what you had to do, and everybody was more superior than you. That was you probably got similar to that. But what it does, that's a negative, but it toughens you up. And it's true what Stephen Truseeker said. The point is, not all parents are good. That's very true. Yes. Now, PJ 1700 says Gustave Le Bon, the book called The Crowd, talks about the mass psychosis. Thanks for that. That's interesting. I didn't know that. See, so I learned something there.
PJ 1700. Is that a new guy, girl or
Yes.
gal? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Welcome.
Hello.
Subscribe.
And, yes. Now, what we got here? Answer. It showed on the screen. What showed on the screen? Hang on a minute. What's happening here? Something weird's going on. Oh, hang on. I've jumped ahead of myself. Now, Barefoot 400 said, I did some supply teaching back in the day. Super stressful. Nowadays, they recruit a lot of non-teachers to do secondary cover teaching, especially military. I didn't know they were allowed that.
You mean they bring in people from the military?
Don't know. Suppose so.
Oh, especially ex-military. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't know. Yeah, that's odd. But I mean, when my dad wrote his book about his wartime experiences, some bozo got in touch with us, phoned us, and wanted a free copy of the book because he openly admitted he wasn't a D-Day veteran. He was an older fella. He'd missed the war. He was conscripted after the war, but he made out he was and went round schools.
Oh,
I think it's called bullshitter.
masquerading?
Yeah, he was masquerading. He bought his medals and everything. And he had the bloody audacity to admit it. And he wanted a freebie book, and I've actually told him to get stuff, basically. Almost, But yes. Now, our academic repeaters, teachers, lack wit and wisdom. They are merely repeaters. They swallow, rinse, and regurgitate. Spot on.
And they eat up people's tax money to do
Oh,
it.
yes. Yes.
Especially you must know it from architecture
Yeah.
that these schools, they end up here, at least they look like prisons.
Yes. Yes, they do.
You couldn't even spot a difference if you looked at a school without any sort of signs.
Well, it's funny you should say that because a couple of years back, I was walking along and next to a bus stop, I saw a purse laying on the ground. So I picked it up, opened it up to find out, and it belonged to a schoolgirl. I found her dress inside. They had money in there. And it was a school not far from where I live. So I thought, I'll just take it down there, you see. Getting into that school was like getting into Fort Knox. There's all barbed wire around there. I thought, what is this? And, who are you? What are you? I said, well, I found a purse on the ground, and it's one of your pupils. And when I took it into the reception, when I finally got through into the reception, the attitude was sort of, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be. Sort of, I gave it to. I said, look, this is one of your pupils, I believe. Not even a word of thank you. So I walked out thinking, what's wrong with these people? Just sort of, they looked at me like as if they got a smacked arse,
Yeah, showing just there's somebody here showing kindness and concern. Wow, that's
Yeah.
that's
I mean, I could
radical.
have said sod it, and I could have taken the money out of the purse, and if I was that way inclined, but no, I didn't. All the money was there, and I just took it in. I was being honest, and it made me feel like some sort of guilty. What's this bloke doing coming into the school? It's a nasty atmosphere, really, very unpleasant. But I did notice how it's like. I mean, when I was at school, you could walk in and out freely. There's no security, anything.
Yeah, but you're right. It is kind of like a prison, checkpoint, Charlie. Okay, we'll let you in, kind of deal. Like some of these factories are like that too, where you go in, you have to check in at the gate and go in. If you have your business, you have to state your business and all this kind of stuff. The schools are the same way.
Aunt Sally says, why does the comment after mine about their mother's communication skills not appear in the Rumble chat?
What did you say?
I don't know. Well, actually, Aunt Sally, I'm broadcasting on YouTube as well as Rumble and Telegram as well. And there are going to be a few more added next week. So both YouTube and Rumble will appear in the chat here.
Yeah, we see both YouTube and Rumble.
That's right. We both see both. But unfortunately, as you're in Rumble, you only see Rumble. And there's those in YouTube. And there's more in Rumble on the Sunday than there is in YouTube.
You have to do what Paul English does and run it on Opera browser and merge the two chat boxes.
That's an idea, isn't it? Well, it is merged, as I say. You can see it on the screen.
For us, it is. Yeah, I'm just talking for Aunt Sally if she wants to see
Aunt Sally, you can see it actually next to me on the screen. It's
you can. Oh, okay.
It's there. Yeah. Whoops. Hang on. There.
Yeah.
It's coming down on the chats there. You see, so you should be able to see it. So there we go. That's answered your question. So thanks.
Yeah. These schools though, they all look the same. Like I did a book. I worked as an assistant photographer for a book on architecture in Lake Minnetonka here, which is the real ritzy place where all the rich people live. And there's this architect we had that designed the IDF tower, or IDS tower in
Yeah.
Minneapolis. His name was Philip Johnson. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's a modernist
Uh,
architect. And
oh dear.
his house that he built for this former CEO of General Electric looked just like the public schools. Like everybody modeled the public school architecture
Yeah.
based on Philip Johnson, and it's just ugly, soulless brick,
Yeah.
beige,
That's it.
maybe two-tone brick. The inside was nice. It had a beautiful atrium with garden in the middle of the living space. Very beautiful, but just ugly on the outside, and really it wasn't all that great on the inside either, other than just like the wildlife and things. But
Well, I absolutely detest modern, postmodern, brutal architecture as well. And to me, I mean, don't worry. So, if you met this bloke, was he a bit weird? I mean, a lot of
y-
architects, they wear a jacket, no, they button jacket, and they always have their sleeves rolled up.
yeah,
Someone,
well, this one, the Philip Johnson house that we went to, in the backyard, they had a guest house designed by Frank Gehry. I don't know if
yes,
you know who
I've
Gehry
heard of
was.
Frank Gehry. Yes,
Yeah, it's just ugly. Just
yeah.
the thing was covered with black mold, and just the ugliest looking thing I've ever seen. They didn't even care about restoring it because it's just so ugly looking thing. He did a
Well,
he did a memorial museum to Jimi Hendrix over in Seattle, and it looked like two trash bags set next to each
yeah.
other. It's just ugly.
Uh, I mean, look at the Lloyd's building in London. Have you ever seen it? With all the, with a lift on the outside. And when that was being built, I used to pass that building going to work because when I say I worked in the city, it wasn't in banking. I actually worked on the in Lower Thames Street on the Billingsgate redevelopment, and I do like working in a site office because I like being on site and design because it's design and build. What you find is, you go on site and you've got to actually it's rather challenging because you've got to design something as it's being built. So, you actually see it. And I passed the Lloydsborough and I thought, that's pretty strange. I wonder when they're going to remove all the scaffolding. It wasn't. That was part of
That was part of the architecture, huh?
the. And, I mean, you had, was it Franklin Lloyd Wright? Now, Franklin
Yeah,
Lloyd
I was
Wright.
going to mention that same book. We had one building that was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright and had been remodeled, but even his stuff is, I like some of his stuff that he did because he was given a lot big budget
Yes,
for a lot of his stuff.
that's
And I
right.
remember the one that we went to was some lady, first female, the CEO of
Mm,
General Mills, which does a lot of like Pillsbury and stuff type contracts.
yeah,
And her husband had a Bugatti Atlantic in his garage, which
that's
there were only like four made. It's
wow.
spectacular.
Wow.
But
Well, but
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say Franklin Lloyd Wright was famous for designing, inventing Californian screen blocks. I don't know if
Yeah.
you get them
No, what's
round.
it? What are screen blocks?
Well,
What?
they're concrete, and they got. How can I explain it? It's a bit difficult. They're like a kind of concrete pattern that you can see through. I think it's the only way I can explain it.
Uh-huh.
So it's like imagine a concrete block about foot square, and that's in old money. And you can actually see through parts of it. It's all sort of it's molded that way. I think that's about the only way I can explain it. Really, they were famous in the 70s. They've gone out of fashion now because people
Yeah,
don't buy 'em.
yeah. That
Uh,
definitely was the era of the 60s and 70s, looking
yeah,
at
yeah. You must know
inspiration
that.
of Frank Lloyd Wright. Like North by Northwest with Hitchcock, the last scene was the Frank Lloyd Wright building, the
Yes,
house that they go to.
yes.
And he had a cult in Wisconsin that,
Really.
yeah, kind of near Madison, where I think it was Stalin's daughter belonged to it.
Oh bloody hell!
And he had
They're
all
real
these other
lefty.
weird people there.
Yeah, I mean architects. I can honestly say this: the majority. I mean, I was freelance, so I was the lowest of the low. They kind of they say freelance because they used to know it was known as subbies or bleeding subbies, subcontractors, or what was the other one? Mercenaries. They called us architectural mercenaries because we would go on to one project and he was always asked into a project when it's way behind schedule. There's a penalty clause on it, so you got to work your guts out. So you got paid quite well for what you did, but you really had to work fast, very fast. And of course, the permanent staff hated your guts because you came in on quite a nice rate. and
Well, that's a parable in the Bible where the
Yeah.
master goes out to the market and finds people in the morning and then in the noon and then the afternoon, and he pays them all the same wages, and the
Yeah.
people from that worked all day grumble. Yeah.
Well, the thing
Mm.
is, I mean, the permanent staff would go down to pub lunchtime, go down to boozer. The contract blokes, we got our heads down, working our guts out, because we're paid by the hour, and you got to get the information out pretty quick. And again, it's always a crisis. But as I say, the majority of architects I've worked in, it's the nearest thing to working in a lunatic asylum. Seriously, it really was. It was just like a lunatic asylum. I've met some real loonies. I mean, so there's one bloke. I kid you not. He had a belt strap between each trouser leg. Can you imagine that? Down near his knee.
Belt strap.
Yeah, he had like a
each
belt.
leg.
A belt that went from one leg to the other leg, you see. So when he was walking around the office, the belt was sort of tighter. And then when he went out lunchtime, because he's taking bigger strides, he'd open the belt wider so he could take bigger strides. Cuckoo. Seriously. It was as bad as very good designer, but he's a fruitcake. Absolute fruitcake he was. And you get some you get people you was often used as a scapegoat. And another saying was, well, you cry all the way to the bank, because you would get the blame for when the permanent staff didn't get the project done on time. So they get contract blokes in, and then if they had to hire or they had to answer up to higher authority, they'd blame the contract blokes for not getting the job done on time.
Hired scapegoats.
Hired scapegoats. And as I say, we used to say laugh all the way at the bank or cry all the way at the bank. That was the thing. But it was, what I liked about it is you never got that involved in politics, office politics, because you were the outsider that came in. And so, I prefer that. And if you came up against someone you didn't like, we left. You went on another contract. But that's easier said than done. That's fine if there's a lot of work around, but if it isn't, you stuck there. And that was another big problem. It was a bit of a stick in the mud. But no, I mean, that was interesting. This work that you did with a photographer.
Yeah, that was actually an interesting time, and I learned a little bit about architecture as a consequence of it, and especially the stuff around here, what went into it, and I liked a lot of you'd get arts and crafts type architecture out on some of the islands on Minnetonka that were really neat from that era. Before, when was arts and craft? Was that before Art Nouveau? After?
Arts and craft. No, you had Art Nouveau, then you had Art Deco.
Art Deco.
Art Deco was 30s. Art Nouveau was from about 1890s to about.
Well, have you heard of arts and crafts?
Sorry,
do you know arts and crafts? Okay, well, it was a little bit more rustic, not so much, or it was ornate, but it wasn't like.
Art Nouveau. That's I think what you want, because Art Nouveau.
No, Art Nouveau is. Yeah, it's a lot of ostentatious, extra type stuff. I think arts and crafts was more practical, but still, you could tell time was spent on it, making each, architectural design type thing. Whether it's like a fireplace, it's like I said, it's more rustic, meant for like residents than these big institutions.
No, I mean, what we had, Art Nouveau, and this is off the top of my head, it lasted from about 1890s or 1880s, 1890s to 1914 in this country.
Yeah, just before the war.
And lasted until 1927 in America. And then it went into Art Deco, and that went up to the 1930s. And then after that, you had
modern. Yeah.
And then you had postmodern after that.
Yeah.
And brutal
brutalism, yeah.
Brutalism, and that came from the Bauhaus which I used to describe as bowel house because that's what it is. Load of shit.
Outhouse.
Bowel house. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was crap. And was it less is more was one of their
What are
statements.
we in now? What's the current thing?
I don't.
What would you call it?
I think it's postmodern. I
It's
think
still
it is.
postmodern.
I think it is. Yeah, I think it's still postmodern. Because when you look at it, at the design, there's nothing new. You look at houses, they're just putting plastic bits on and copying a sort of. I don't know. We had a Georgian revival in the 1970s. That didn't last very long. Then there's a Victorian revival. That didn't last very long. But my particular forte was industrial and commercial, so I didn't really do housing that much because there wasn't really any money in it. And in the 1980s, we had things like atriums, which were good. That is where you walk into a building and you've got like a sort of a greenhouse around you and lots of greenery. I don't know if I explained that correctly in the middle of the building. So have you been into one like a hotel? You walk into a hotel and you'd have all plants and everything and look up and you can see the sky. They have a skyline. That'd be an atrium. But they found
Yep.
out but it took up too much space and it cost too much money. So that didn't
Yeah,
last.
that's like that Philip Johnson house I went into. They had an atrium in the middle with a garden, and then you had the living room and the dining room all around it.
Yeah. It's,
I,
it's
I
that,
like I like that part of it because you're
yeah,
incorporating nature into it, and I
that's
like
right.
the old stuff. I like the old
That's
wattle
right.
and daub, and,
Yes.
and using lime mortar instead of
Yes.
cement.
Yes. You're in the
Way
same book
better.
as me. I was a bit
Stones.
like I was a bit like the Punch and Judy man that hated kids. I
Yeah.
because I I worked on these monstrosities of buildings, and and quite honestly, some of them was absolute crap. And I've said this story thousands of times. Well, I was going to say I'm not going to repeat it. The time when I got instantly fired for saying something that I shouldn't, and so it's time to make a cup of tea for those people that heard it. It was a cold, wet January morning, and I think I'd had a pretty bad journey in. And I was in a meeting, and there's this effeminate bloke there, a photographer and a model maker, and we had this model that looked like a cornflake packet, and it was to do with London Wall, how we could modernise or upgrade a 1960s building. And my attitude, I mean, it was you couldn't really do anything with it. It was horrible. It was just like a cornflake, giant cornflake packet, and they paid out a fortune for this model to be made, and they're pushing lights around it and all that. And I'm thinking, and these people are going off saying, "Oh yes, look at the aesthetic creativity as the light moves round," and they're coming out with all this bullshit. But I'm sitting there getting more and more fed up as time went on. And luckily, I had another contract up my sleeve, and I sat there and I'd taken it, and they said, "What do you think?" To me, so I said, "Well, I think Blaster Bates with a lorry load of TNT would make a vast improvement." Get out! I, d- I
Speaking
wasn't
truth to
normally like
power.
that. Yeah, my lips took over from my brain. I wasn't normally like that. I was normally a very placid sort of easy go, but something must have clicked that morning. I don't know. It was totally out of my sort of personality to say that, but I just couldn't handle it. Especially this effeminate bloke said, "Oh, I think this looks marvelous like this." Oh, doesn't that look lovely? I don't know. I saw smoke coming out my ears, you know. But
Yeah,
no,
we had a few people working on that book that were like that too. Like some of the architecture, like I said, was modernist type stuff
yeah,
and even newer stuff. There were some things that were quite interesting, like the Pillsbury Mansion that no longer exists. They broke it up, sold it for like 50 mil, and
really.
they took all the pieces apart, auctioned it off, or sold the pieces from the building and
Oh, it's terrible.
subdivided it into cookie cutter McMansions, as we call them. Play on McDonald's and
Oh.
a mansion.
And what gets me is that, I mean, there was the Hoover Building that was just outside London. It was on the North Circular Road, and I think that was demolished. And there's lots of buildings. because in the 1930s, a lot of optimistic architecture and a lot of creativity. And if you look at the London tube stations, the ones that were stretching out into the countryside at that time, they were fantastic buildings. They were really beautifully built, very optimistic, very modern. But you walk into them, they was full of light. They had light. They called them, was it sun trap buildings? That's a thing from the 1930s. The only trouble is bleeding cold in the winter. You know?
Mm.
Every- but they're marvellous. And now back into chat. We've got here now. Barefoot Foreigner says polar solar eclipse today.
Partial solar eclipse
Partial,
today.
sorry,
Even
polar. Where did I get that from? Sorry,
sorry.
I must learn to read. Partial solar eclipse today, Stephen. Equinox tomorrow. Huge
Uh-huh.
spiritual endings of what is blocking you from your soul's path. New beginnings now.
You know, we're entering into the equinox, so it's 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of nighttime,
Yes,
perfectly. I
yes.
like it. I like that. It's tropical. We all get a little bit of tropical weather for a time, just like they get at the equator. So
Really?
enjoy it.
We get an Indian summer. I think
Yeah,
it's what we
Indian summer.
Indian summer. Yeah,
That's what we call
that's
it
it.
too.
Now,
And
sorry, carry on.
well, I was gonna say, as a Catholic, whenever the seasons change like this, we have what are called ember days, which are fasting days after a certain date,
Really?
which
Now
is
I'm
near.
learning something.
It's just yeah, so it's near the equinoxes and the solstices, and usually it's just before them. So, and then we had the feast of the Holy Cross, the exaltation of the Holy Cross last Sunday. So that meant that the ember days were Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, and they're days of fasting. So no,
Really?
so
Was it 24,
fasting.
24-hour fast? Would that be or?
Yeah, well, it'd be a 48-hour fast if Friday and Saturday, and then
Yeah.
on Wednesdays a 24-hour fast. So I just wanted to mention that because I just started observing that. I didn't even know about it as a Catholic because it's what they used to
Well,
do in the olden days. They don't
well,
talk about it much anymore.
apparently years ago, people who only had one meal or 2 days meals a day, otherwise they were regarded as a glutton,
I
and
liked
that
it.
that was it.
Well, it's something it's been a long time since I've fasted 2 days in a row like that,
Mm.
and I didn't feel hungry at all. I felt energy, and it was nice.
Well, nor do I. I mean, I'm on this. I don't like calling it a diet. It's keto diet,
It's the
but
one
I
where you
don't.
eat in the morning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got
I
meal in
like
the
that
morning.
idea because
Yeah,
usually what you eat at night depends on how you'll feel in the morning, and if you don't eat anything, you probably feel pretty good
yeah.
because you've had
And
the day to digest walking upright.
well, I actually lost 1.5 stone in 2 weeks. That's how effective it was. But I like it. It suits me, but it might not suit everybody. And it's 16 hours you go without food. And I often go sort of 18, 19, sometimes 20 hours, almost a sort of a day. But um, I think it's you got to understand your own body. And I know that to Muslims, they fast a lot, don't they, in their religion? I think the Muslims do a lot of
Yeah, they have
fasting.
Ramadan, and they
Mm.
don't, but they're kind of the opposite. They don't eat during daylight hours, and then they don't even drink water, I think, during that time. But that at
Really?
the nighttime, they have
Mm.
a big meal.
I didn't know Catholic religion. I've learned something. I
Fasting?
didn't know that you did fasting. I really didn't
Yeah,
know that.
during
Mm.
Lent, the season of Lent, which is usually around that's just before Easter. It's 40 days before Easter. Or yeah, the 40
Really?
in fact, it's the 40 days before Easter, and you break your
Hmm.
fast on Easter. That's why there's always a big feast on Easter because it's all those things that you couldn't eat during Lent. And
That's great.
sometimes even during Advent going up to the, Christmas time, winter solstice,
Mhm.
they
I
used to fast for 40 days.
I mean, please excuse my ignorance, but, I mean, my
It's alright.
parents were Church of England. I was born into Church of England,
Well, some of the
and
high church, I think they still follow a lot of the Catholic stuff, but there's
mm,
differences in that too. You got the low church Anglicans and what's the one called here? It's not the evangelicals, it's I forget.
um,
It's the equivalent of the Anglican church here in America. but
Don't know.
we
I'll be very, very honest with you. I've never read the Bible. My parents weren't. Mother was a little bit religious. I never. They didn't go to church. I never went to Sunday school, so I'm out on a limb. I'm afraid, and I should have read the Bible, but I never have. So, but I'll be totally honest there. It's an area that it's. I'm not sure with the Church of England does a fast round Lent. I don't know.
I don't know either.
No,
I know that
anybody out there
there are a lot
know?
of there are a lot of things that are in common because England used to be Catholic before it was Protestant.
Well, you're right.
All of Europe, for that matter,
And
before
did you know
Luther.
I've recently found out it's a myth that Henry VIII invented the Church of England because he wanted a divorce, because apparently Henry VIII did not divorce. Now, I've recently learned that he had a, what's it called now? Annulment.
Annulment, yeah.
Annulment. And he was officially married twice. And his first wife, I think she died of natural causes, and the second wife outlived him. But he had an annulment. He did not have divorce. So that's it. So you have the 6 wives of Henry VIII, yes, but
Didn't he
officially
burn?
only married twice.
Sorry to interrupt. Didn't
Yeah.
he burn Anne Boleyn at the stake or something like that? I think
No, I
he
think that,
executed. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think most have had their heads cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, apart from that, he's a nice bloke. He's all right.
Yeah. Well, his first wife was Catherine of Aragon, Spain. She's a
Yes.
Spanish lady,
Really?
and yeah, well, this all led to the Spanish Armada era. After he divorced Catherine of Spain, England and Spain didn't get along very well for a
No.
time, and
Well,
she was I think she had a daughter. I'm not certain, but she was married to his brother previously. And you know
really,
what? Henry's brother's name was Arthur.
Arthur or
He would have
Arthur.
been king. You would have had a King Arthur, the second.
I like Arthur as king. It's quite nice
I think he
because
died as a teenager.
yeah, because the last real English king, I believe, was Harold. Harold, and he is supposed to be buried not that far from me in Waltham Abbey. And I'm thinking of taking my camera over there and having a walk around because, again, you're not going to believe this. I've lived here for years, for decades. I've never been inside Waltham Abbey, and it's only a couple of miles up the road to me. Seriously.
Really?
So I'm going to go in there. Yeah, I'm going to go in there. I went in the museum, and because I've always been busy, I'm going somewhere, I'm doing something. So you just pass it and you don't go in. And that's it. It's like most of the sites of London. I've worked in London for years, but I haven't really been into. I mean, I used to pass the monument every morning, and I never went up it. Yeah, I
When's
know
the
because
monument? I know this is an American question because I don't know.
it's in Pudding Lane, and they put it up after the Great Fire of London, and that's where the Great Fire of London was supposed to allegedly start. But if you look on BitChute, I did a show which still has a very high rating with Professor, what's her name now, who was a leading authority on the Great Fire of London, and we've been told a load of bovine excrement. You thought I was going to say bullshit then, but I thought I'd better not. See, I didn't say bullshit. I said bovine excrement. See, so that's kept it safe. And the chap who, to his dying day, who was blamed for starting the fire, it was a baker. No, it wasn't him. And the fire went against the wind, and it seems that it was done deliberately to destroy parts of London so they could renew it. And Christopher Wren came along, who wasn't an architect, believe it or not. He wasn't. Who designed St Paul's Cathedral. So and when you look at, and she's been through, I can't remember her name. She's been through all the documents and that, and noted that we've been told a pack of lies. So that's it. But no, the monument, if you look it up on Google, it's in Pudding Lane in the City of London. That's it. I should know because I passed it every day.
Yeah.
I used to work near the National Gallery. I never went in. Never been
Huh.
in there. Where is the other? I've never been to. I don't think I've ever been. I've been inside St Paul's. I used to work near Westminster area. I never went in there either. Because again, you go to work, lunchtime, you're interested in getting your lunch. You come, finish work, go home. That's it. You've had enough for London. You want to get home. So you don't. And the last thing you want to do in the weekend is go up to London to see the sights. Oh, sod that. I had enough of London. So you never bothered. And there's a lot of people like that as well. But you take things for granted. And there's all these sites, for example, Scott's Grotto. Now, I've been down Scott's Grotto, which is in Ware, in Hertfordshire. And that is very interesting because that was made by a Quaker. Well, not personally by a Quaker. You know, he didn't have his low-cut trousers, you know, slick trail of that.
Doing the work.
And it was a folly that was made. And it's the same temperature all the year round. So you go down there in the
Really?
winter or the summer, it's the same temperature. Yes, and the walls are lined with seashells from all around the world, and the seashells came from ships that used the seashells as ballast. And they didn't know what to do with
Oh, really?
it. Yeah. So they
What a-
brought them in, and you can see words that have been written like frog and things like that. And it's fantastic. And what it was, this Quaker, because they weren't allowed in the City of London, this was out in the countryside in Ware, he helped the unemployed because he was quite rich, because they were very good businessmen. Because Hertfordshire is noted for Quakers. There's the oldest Quaker church in Hertfordshire, in Hertford itself. And this Quaker, he created employment for people who dug out this folly. And it's called Scott's Grotto. And if you look it up on Google, you see Scott's Grotto. It's now, it used to be privately owned when I went down there, but now I believe it's owned by, I don't know, some charity or something. But it's worth a visit. It really is interesting. And Scott's Grotto, yeah, there it is. I think it was about 1770s, 1780s or something it was made. But
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
well, what I was going to say, the woman said that they had a very, very hot summer. We had a heat wave. And she said in 1976, this is when the heat wave was on, and tar was melting on the roads. And she used to go down there, and it was beautiful and cool, same temperature. And when in the winter, it's exactly the same temperature. Strange. Anyway, so I was going to say,
That'd be a nice place to go. I was going to say about the Great Fire of London that that's about the time just before you had the Bank of England and Parliament, which I think may have been built on the ashes of that fire.
Yes, and afterwards they had the I can't bloody pronounce it. Sestiqui Act, 1666.
Sestiqui Act. You got to say that with a Cockney accent.
Sestiqui Act, yeah. It's a Cockney laugh, that is. Yeah. And of course, if you're born within the sound of Bow Bells, you're a Cockney.
Really? Is that how it works?
That's how it works. And both my father and sister were born within the sound of Bow Bells. But they didn't speak in a Cockney accent at all. And they didn't like Cockneys very much. So
where is that located?
In Bow, which is in the city, just off the City of London, yeah.
Okay. So Cockney is a London-ish type accent then.
Yeah, oh yes. And people think, I mean, I've got a Hertfordshire accent, and people from up north say, "Oh, it's a Cockneys," because they think we all sound the same. But no, Cockney is very, very different. And
it's an urban accent.
Sorry?
It's an urban accent. Like here, we have New York accents and Chicago accents, which are unique.
Yeah, they say coffee, don't they? And what was the other one? There's a sort of that's right. And East End of London, there's very few Cockneys there now. That is actually they moved to Essex, so we have what is called estuary English. So you hear people speaking Cockney, but they were born and bred in Essex. They weren't born, and that's it. You know, that's the thing. But I don't know what my accent sounds like. It sounds probably crappy to other people. I don't know. But no, there's all different accents. It's the funniest island because we've got more accents, I think, on a small place than
Well,
anywhere else.
isn't it interesting too that the more vulgar the accent, the more thick the accent?
Yeah, yeah. But
'Cause I would imagine Cockneys, I imagine people with just like a foul sense,
yeah,
using vulgar language and slang and all that kind of stuff that you don't get, but some of it's pretty foul when you
well,
look at it.
Lorraine Trace, she was a Cockney, and she was I think she was a fashion model, but she became an actress, and she used to speak like this, like. Yet she'd been to university. She was highly educated. She
Oh,
studied Dada art and things like that. Yeah, yeah. You'd never think it. And then there are quite a few Cockneys that have been to university. You think they're as thick as anything, they're not. They're pretty bright. Yeah. So, but you didn't hear Cockneys in Spitfires during World War II. I'll tell you that. No. And I guess you do. Do you know what happened with the anti-aircraft guns during World War II? That more people were killed by the anti-aircraft guns than the
from the
Luftwaffe.
falling shells?
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They
Yeah,
put
yeah, I would
they
imagine that. Yeah, because I
there's
see some
two.
of these videos from Russia where they're shooting drones, and I can just imagine where those bullets are flying and ending up when they're shooting these things
Well,
off,
there's two types of anti-aircraft gun. There's the AK, which goes a shell that goes up to a certain height and then explodes, and it
right?
sends shrapnel out, and that shrapnel hits the plane and tears it to bits and does damage. And then you had this naval guns that had to be used with radar. But
Yes,
what happened with naval guns, they would fire up at the aircraft, but because they were on ships, they'd normally fall harmlessly into the sea if they missed the aircraft. Well, you Churchill gave the order to put naval guns in the working class areas of London. And of course, they'd fire up at the aircraft, and often they'd miss, and the shell would come straight down, hit a house or hit a person.
mm,
And there was a terrible disaster called the Bethnal Green disaster. And what happened is people used to go down the tubes or the subways, as you call it, use that as air raid shelters when there was bombing.
yes,
And what happened? There's a load of people running down. There was the air raid sirens going, running down Bethnal Green. There's a plaque there today, apparently, and a new naval gun had been set up because they got used to the sounds of ACACs going, and this boom, and they actually thought that a bomb had hit. So half the crowd turned round and turned on the crowd that are coming down, and children and women and loads of people were trampled to death. And it's
terrible.
horrendous. Yeah, they died because of that gun. And it was horrendous. And as I say, there's a plaque at Bethnal Green. I haven't seen it, but apparently there to mark the people that had died there. And the people that apparently the crew that had to clear it all up, a lot of them had to have psychiatric treatment afterwards. It was quite horrendous, even though they'd seen bombed out people and that. And my father's brother, who I never met, who died before I was born, he's during the war, because he was unfit to do compulsory military service, he was a volunteer to dig the people out. And he used to dig people out of the rubble during bombing raids. And he had a technique, and he would not leave a place until everybody's accounted for. So he that was his job. And because they used to carry on digging the people out of their rubble during an air raid. They wouldn't wait until the bombers were gone. They would actually do it during an air raid. So, so he saved quite a few lives, my uncle. So good for
You're
him.
good. Yeah, that's got to
Anyway,
be a stressful job doing that during
yeah.
the whole
Mm.
bombardment phase of things. I read I actually never finished it, but it was David Irving's book on Dresden and what they had to do in the aftermath of the firestorms that were created.
Mm.
It's just terrible when you think about the amount of
Well,
devastation and death.
it was a death cult. And carrying on with this, we haven't really gone off the track of the mind infiltration because wars can only be created by mind infiltration when you think
Yeah,
about it. And the situation we have now, I mean, I can imagine coming right up to date, that march that we saw on Saturday, people saying, "Why are you so much against it?" Because to me, it was a country we're not allowed to criticise, a PR exercise for them, and all you got to do is look and search who's funding the organisers, and that'll give you the answer. That's what we have to do, because you find
Yeah, well,
out,
look,
you follow the money trail, who's funding them. You know,
for instance, Mr. Yaxley,
yes.
he's getting money from Rebel Media, which is a Canadian organization run by Ezra Levant, and
Well,
he's
slap my thigh.
he. It's just these characters, they
Yeah.
prop them up only to smash them down.
Yeah.
I think of like the Charlie Kirk. They had the funeral today for him. They're making a huge deal about it. You know, state funeral, bagpipes, all this good stuff. And it's like, wow, they didn't do it for him when he was alive. They'll do it for him after he's gone. But it's
I think Benjamin Nutty Knickers. I think he said something as well. Oh, he's a marvelous person, something like that.
yeah. Well, he also said I didn't do it.
No.
Wasn't me.
He's got his gun. Oh, sorry. Now, Alice Gorgeous says, I need to do keto, Eric. I forgot you told me about it. Yes, it's very straightforward, but I did say, and somebody's corrected me on it, and I do apologise to the person that's corrected me on it, because I haven't replied in the chat in Rumble. So it's I'm not being ignorant. I like to reply to everybody that puts a comment, and I think that's important, because the show is everybody in chat and the viewers. So I might take a little bit of time getting back to you, but I will. I like to comment. And I did say that the keto diet, if you're on, I'm not a doctor, I'm not giving medical advice, so please don't take it. But if you're a diabetic, not to do it, because it will kill you. Now, I got that from somebody else, but if you look, and I think it was last week's chat, a person has commented and said that's not the case. So my advice would be, if you're if you're not a well person, have a word with your quack or whatever, and sort it out. That's what I've got to say. I don't want anybody harmed from what I say. Okay, so please, use the old head and that. But with a keto diet, it's going back to caveman, basically. It's a caveman diet.
Yeah, you can just dip your toe into it too. You don't have to do it.
Yeah.
Go full bore keto diet either. You could do just like a day of it and see what you like, if it's for you or not.
The secret is knowing the difference between protein and carbohydrate. Once you've got that under your belt, you cracked it. And what you need in the morning, you've got to cut out the carbohydrates. You have some. And it depends on how strict you want to do it. Now, I've cut out sugar and wheat out of my diet. And I feel a hell of a lot better for it. It might not suit everybody. But they say, well, don't bother with grains. Now, some people have a keto diet where they only eat meat. They do not have any vegetables or fruit at all. They just eat meat all the time.
No nuts or anything?
I don't know, but there is one chappie, Eddie somebody, I think he's on Facebook. Eddie, and he was a bodybuilder. And he just eats meat. And he throws the salad aside, doesn't have vegetable. Again, you have what suits your body and what suits you. That's the most important thing. What suits you. Some people, it suits them to be a vegetarian. Fine, I ain't got a problem with that. It's what suits the individual that really matters. Sure. And I think that it suits me. I have protein in the morning, a lot of protein, but I do have my vegetables and fruit. But I'm very careful how much fruit I have, because fruit today is not the same as fruit used to be. And again, going back to the caveman times, bananas were full of pips, seeds in them, and you had very little flesh. So you didn't overgorge, and you didn't push your insulin levels up and things like that. So, and sorry, I'm not a diabetic or anything like that, but you've got to, it's everything in moderation. But when I wake up in the morning, I don't feel hungry at all. Not at all. I don't feel any hunger. So,
so you force yourself to eat a breakfast?
Not really, no. And I think, it's breakfast time. Then I get a little bit, okay. I have a nice hearty breakfast, and that's it. I'm quite happy after that. and I might have a little snack about 1 o'clock, and that's it. And when I say a little snack, it might be a tin of sardines, which
Sure.
are very, very good for you. And I have these like little rice cakes. I eat them. Plenty of butter. That's another thing. Also, I've cut out dairy as well, apart from the butter,
Apart
because
from the butter.
yeah, because it's it starts with B, but battery, butyrol, or something like that. It's very good for your intestines. So that's it. But
I was gonna mention I've been making a lot of yogurt lately,
very
and
good for you.
I don't eat a lot of yogurt myself, but,
Mm.
when you make it, you collect the whey that drains from it,
Mhm.
and muscle builders and sports people, they buy big cans of whey powder and add it to smoothies and other things, and I
Mm.
found that I don't like the taste of it. It's kinda sour taste by
Mm.
itself, but I add a bit of honey and vinegar to it, and it's really good.
Oh, that hits the spot, doesn't it? But,
Yeah.
I used to get raw milk,
Lots of
and
protein.
I will occasionally get raw milk, but the trouble is I've gotta go to a farm. I've gotta go up that way. It's about, 9 miles from me, so 18 miles round trip. So, it's easier to get some, oat milk from, supermarket or somewhere. But, now with milk, the reason I don't, have dairy so much is, all the growth hormones that they put in milk. So that's why I'll only drink, raw milk, and I don't have cheese unless it's organic
Well, as the
because,
Falcon Minister of Cheese, I think you need more
yes,
cheese in your diet.
I agree with you. Yes, yes, I definitely need more cheese. But, now, isn't this nice what Barefoot Foreigner has said? "Your uncle restores my faith in humanity." Thank you, Eric. Yes, it was my
Yeah, the
dad's
first responders too. I was just thinking about that, having people that run an ambulance and all that to
Mm.
car wrecks and whatever it might be, they see a lot of trauma in their
Well,
profession, and they have lots of
I
stories.
where I used to work, there was a janitor there. I think that's the American word, isn't it? Or caretaker. Caretaker's a better word. Um, Very nice bloke, and he was an ex-fireman, and he suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. And what happened? I try to censor what I'm about to say, but he had to attend car crashes, and he was passing a corpse. He had to get this dead person out of the car, and as it went across him, their stomach collapsed over him, and that gave
Really?
him post. Yeah, I've tried to be as mild as possible, but yeah,
How
that
can you
gave
be in
post.
that
Yeah,
situation?
and but no, my uncle John, who died several years before I was born, he had a problem with his heart, and they found a cure for it about a couple of months afterwards, which is a shame. And he was very, very brave, and he was my. He used to look after my dad because he's my dad's older brother. And if there was a bully at school, his brother would come out and sort the bully out. Push. And a bit of a tough guy, but he was actually a trade union leader, and he got on well with the management at Cross and Blackwell Soups. The firm Cross and Blackwell. Do you have Cross and Blackwell in America? I think you do, don't you?
No, I've never heard of it.
No? Well, it must be just a British one, I think. And my dad, when he went to his brother's funeral, he said he couldn't believe the turnout of not only management but union and a lot. And this was what, in the 50s, But
The
yes, my
union?
dad. Yeah, but he got on. What he did, he prevented strikes and things like that. He had this way of negotiating with people, and he got on well with the management and the union, and he would sort of negotiate a
Sure.
sort of peaceful
Yeah.
way through, and he was respected by both sides. So
That's
that
good.
was
That I think a lot of we were talking about education earlier, is meant to keep people from doing that sort of thing, and
mm,
keep people from asking for higher wages, and prevent bosses from giving higher wages, and keep the whole
yeah,
usury system going by creating a class
precisely.
of elect type people versus
Yeah.
the rest of the masses. humanity
Mm,
underneath.
that's
Because
right.
you look at the way unions used to be during the war, you had people going busting up strikes and saying you're unpatriotic if you're striking and all this kind of stuff. And yeah,
Oh
at the
yeah.
same time, they're paid pittance of what they should have been paid.
Well, during World War II, we had strikes in this country, especially with the docks and things like that. People don't realise that. And a lot of the lifeboats. Oh, by the way, Barefoot Foreign just says the butter thing was butyrate. Thank you. If I've pronounced that correctly, but butyrate, that's it. Yes, and a lot of the lifeboats, the dockers had actually taken the life support systems out. So the poor sods would get into their lifeboats that had been torpedoed, and there'd be nothing there for them to eat or drink. So that often happened, apparently, you know. But now, Barefoot Foreigner says something very interesting. Type 1 diabetes compared with type 2 diabetes.
Which one can you cure? Because I know it must be
I
type
don't
1.
know.
Because
I
there's
don't.
one that you can reverse,
You can, because it's too much sweet stuff, isn't it?
and then there's the other one. It's almost like the younger you get it, the
Yeah,
younger age, the worse it is.
that's it. I don't know. I mean, when you see what sweets kids have nowadays, it's a wonder they're still alive because it overloads your system, and your system just can't cope with it. And since I've cut out sweet stuff, I mean, the only sweet stuff I have is dates. I'll have a couple of dates, and they are, and I'm not talking the ones with additives in them. I'm talking about the proper ones with
The
nothing
one
sort
with
of
the
added.
pits and everything, or
Yes.
even without pits.
No, these ones are without the pips, but they're from Iran and they're delicious. Grapeseed, and I'm not getting a firm called Grapeseed. I'm not getting any commission from them. So come on, Grapeseed, put your bleeding hands in your pockets, give me a bit of dosh, you know. But no, actually, they really are good, and they're a bit moreish, you know. I think I'll just have one, and you've got to be really strict with yourself because before you know where you are,
So
you're putting,
I was just informed by somebody listening that type 2 diabetes can be reversed.
ah,
It's the type 1 that you get. I think I have a couple cousins that have it, and it's
mm,
no fun. One of them
oh
has to
no,
wear a bag where their insulin is injected at periodically. They have to
oh,
wear
it's
this
terrible.
thing. It's terrible, especially for a young person having to deal with that.
Yes, yes,
And it
that's
seems like more of it occurs these days than ever before. It was
well,
kind of
look at the
it
matter.
was a very rare disease at one point.
It was. It's right. It's a bit like iodine. They only discovered in, I think it was in 1927, 26, that goiters were caused by iodine deficiency. Before then, people got goiters, and I know that in the Midwest, where there's hardly no iodine at all, the people had goiters, these great big sort of things that came up on them, and there was no known cure for it until they discovered, I think it was 1927, could be wrong on that, it's 20s, that it's cured by iodine. And Lugol's iodine. But and there were places like, for example, I think it's Leeds in Great Britain. That's the furthest point from the sea, and people there used to get goiters because of lack of iodine. So it's surprising these things, but I think it's the amount of sugar they're pumping down people's throats. Because let's face it, if a mother gives birth to a child who has an overload of sugar, what's going to happen to that child? Maybe
Yeah,
that's the reason.
it reminds me too of Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple. Um,
Mhm.
he was a fruitarian, and then he ended up with pancreatic cancer. That's what took him out.
Really?
So,
Because
I would imagine it overloads your pancreas too. It was just
oh,
because when you're
yes, yes.
you get hyperactive and that kind of thing, it wears out the
Well,
effect.
do you know the big killer? Now, again, I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. Please go and see a doctor if you've got any problems. See a doctor. I've got to say that, even though I wouldn't. But no, I'm not a doctor. But I'm only going by what I've seen, read, and off the internet and that. And apparently, a killer is orange juice
Really?
because, yeah, I was shocked at that, and apple juice and things like that, because our bodies are not designed to accept that amount of uh, sugar, or shall we say, it's a different type of
Yeah.
sugar, isn't it? It's can't think of the word now.
Fructose?
At one time, fructose. Thanks, mate. That's terrific. Yeah, fructose at that time. And what Steve Jobs probably did, he just overloaded his body, his system, with orange juice. Because I used to think, oh, I'll have an orange juice. That's nice and healthy. No, it isn't. It's terrible. It's absolutely awful. Your insulin levels go through the roof, and your body it goes into overload with it. Um, because fruit today isn't what it used to be. For example, an apple, up until the Victorian times, you couldn't pick an apple off a tree and eat it. It was too sour. All apples had to be cooked, and they were very small. So you had very small amounts of flesh from the apple. Oranges have been bred to become sweet, and because they become sweet, where they used to be very much smaller and less, they had fibre. Yes, fibre is that's another thing. It's very important to have fibre. You don't get that out, but too much juice. You'd suck an orange and you get very little juice out of it. Bananas, very little flesh, but you ate the flesh, and that was fibre, which your body does need, so it passes through your bowels and things like that. So our fruit has all been not, I wouldn't say genetically modified, but it's all completely different to what it used to be.
It,
And I
like you
know
said,
that
bigger,
that's right. It's bigger, and
bred to be
you
bigger.
know, yeah, and I mean, there's very little vitamin C in modern oranges unless it's organic. There's none, in fact. You probably get more vitamin C sniffing it. Miles Fleetwood, Dr. Miles Fleetwood, I'll call him my doctor, the health food man. He looked into it, and there's very little vitamin C. Um, and people have like things like grapefruit in the morning. Well, grapefruits years ago were very different to the way they are now. And if I know that if I go into the Lee Valley, there's some apple trees there. I haven't found them yet, but I've been told there's apple trees there, and they've got like little crab apples, little tiny things. But that's how they should be. And you can't eat them because it's too sour. But you'd have to cook them. And in Henry VIII's day, you just cooked apples. You'd never ate an apple raw. It wasn't as unknown. It's
I've
only when
noticed that as time's gone on, everything's become bigger and less flavorful
that's
in,
right.
in the markets.
Oh, you're right. The only time I've had an apple that's big was in Greece, where they had this massive apple, about that big, huge, and it tasted like custard. I don't know if it's a custard apple, but it's beautiful. Fantastic. I think it was supposed to be like that. I don't know. But, it's ugly fruit and things like that. They've all messed around with this stuff. I mean, look at seedless grapes. That's a modern thing. Grapes are supposed to have seeds in them. You go into a supermarket now, you'll find it really difficult to find seeded grapes. Almost impossible. Sainsbury's used to sell them. I don't know whether they still do, but that's it. But you probably find the same in the States. I bet you can't find seeded grapes. They're all seedless now, and they are not proper. And
Yeah,
look
it
at
is rare. It is rare even here to find seeded grapes anymore. If you ever could, really. Uh, I usually, I'll see them. They're just, you'll have a big old grape, and usually, say winemaking grapes, they're smaller
that's right.
and lots of flavor, maybe a bit more tart, but good for
Well,
baking.
yes, and Alice Gorgeous has said this is correct, Alice. They called it Derbyshire Neck, lack of iodine. That's right.
I was gonna, yeah, people with thyroid problems, they say it's a lack of iodine that causes a lot of thyroid, and that's in the neck area
Mm,
to
yeah,
occur.
that's right. But I I sometimes take iodine, which is very, very good for you, but only one drop in some water. But that's my choice. Please look into it before you do it or anybody else does it. And I've got a source of iodine where I get 15% iodine, where it's normally 3%. And that source is ladies coming on. Dr. Mayhill will be on in October, and she talks about vitamin C and iodine. So, very interesting doctor she is. And now Aunt Sally says type 1 diabetes is one that people found to have in early childhood, and it's not their fault. That's right. The other is type 2, and is usually people who have consumed bad food. Sure, that's right, over time. Yeah, but what I was saying, I'm thinking whether it might have been the parent that was overgorged with sugar, and that's what's because I know that during World War II, people didn't have sugar. It was ration. You just couldn't get sugar.
Yeah.
And after World War II, people overgorged on sugar because they've been away without it for so long. And of
You
course,
know
it's addictive.
what, too? It reminds me of Russia. In the
Yeah.
90s, it was rationed sugar, and people over there are typically more fit than in the West, where to see a fat person, no offense to anybody who's overweight, but to
Yeah.
see someone who's overweight is fairly rare, and maybe you'll see a babushka in a village somewhere where,
Mm.
it's a big granny because they like to cook, but,
Yeah.
it's very rare, and that's probably why the notion is that there's so many, good-looking people over there because they don't
Yeah.
have the same type of diet with artificial sugar that we do in the West, where we're privileged to
That's
have
right.
these
Yeah.
supermarkets where we get every little thing that we want, every little cake and sweet thing.
Well, I use xylitol, and I won't tell. So keep it to yourselves. But Aunt Sally makes delicious cakes that are totally natural, made of xylitol and coconut. But we won't say that because we don't want to embarrass Aunt Sally. So that's just between us
They
two.
use
There's
that
no
in
catching yourself.
toothpaste often, xylitol.
Yes, xylitol is very, very good. Miles sells it in his shop, and I use it. And you think you're eating sugar, but you're not. It's very good for you as well. If you eat too much, though, it acts as a laxative. So that's the downside. But the one not to have is it sorbitol? Sorbitol?
Sorbitol?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that they use that in South America as for family planning.
Really? I
Seriously.
didn't know that.
Mm.
I
I
don't
was
not
I
that
went
I
to
not that I consume that stuff, but that I
yeah,
didn't know that. I know
but
what it is. And one thing about toothpaste, when I was in Russia, it was
mm.
common to see tooth powder. Do you remember tooth powder?
Yes,
Is it
yes,
common there in England
what?
or
It's
not?
not no, when I was a kid, it was around, but I haven't seen it since, no.
It was very
That
common when I went to Russia to see tooth powder more than toothpaste. And when you saw the toothpaste, it was all Western brands like Colgate.
well, they got fluoride in, and
Yeah.
that's the thing. I have
Yeah,
Aloe
and the
Dent,
powder
which is
didn't.
yeah, Aloe Dent. Oh, really? I tell you what I use instead of powder if I run out of toothpaste, bicarbonate soda. Brush my teeth
Yeah, I
with
heard
cider,
a
and you
lot
can
a
use
lot of
salt.
people use that.
Yeah,
See, with the
that's
tooth powder is made of, calcium carbonate powder, and I
hmm,
found an industrial source. Actually,
really?
it's interesting how I found the source. I was working for a court reporting agency out of Manhattan, and they had a case where it was some big conglomerate chemical company that made this calcium carbonate for pills,
Mhm.
and I I tracked that down, and I bought a 50-pound sack of it, and now that's all I use for brushing my teeth
Really?
is pure calcium
Yeah,
carbonate.
that's really good. The other one used to be sawdust, didn't it? They used to use not sawdust, sorry,
Charcoal,
charcoal. I'm terribly sorry. Yes,
yeah.
sawdust. Where'd that come from? Yeah, charcoal is what they used to use. But Warren App Arthur says juices from apples here are naturally good. That's what I used to believe. I think possibly if you have like a little beaker of it, it shouldn't be too harmful. But please sort of do your own research. You know, um, and now this is interesting. Barefoot Foreigner says crab apples are one of the 9 sacred Saxon herbs. Apple pectin is particularly amazing for detox. Now that's interesting. You use that in pectin. You use that in jam making. So
Yes,
that's yes.
to solidify it.
And Aunt Sally said, "Yep, sugar is definitely killing us." And I did hear that uh, sugar is very different now to where it used to be 50 years ago.
Just in the way they
So
make it.
yeah, yeah.
It's just
There's
industrialized
it's
and
industrialized. Yeah,
sterilized.
yeah, yes.
When I
And
went to okay, there again, when I went to Russia, it was kinda near the border of Ukraine. I remember going to a sugar factory town, and all the farmers grew sugar beets. You just see fields as far as your eye could see of sugar
yes,
beets,
really,
and
because
they'd go ahead.
no, no. Please carry on.
Oh, I'd say they'd bring them to a big pit and have these huge water cannons that would spray the beets as they
Really,
unloaded them off the truck to get all the dirt off of them in the first process of it. stunk like
What?
terrible smell. And it was
Yeah, it
actually,
would do.
and it was one of the few factories still working from Soviet times, and they had this saying that if it was a factory working from the Soviet times, it was likely built by Germans, slave labor.
Yeah, yes, you got a good point there. Yes, that's interesting, isn't it? Wow. Yes,
But the
that
beats, it was, you beat. That's
mm.
it's a good thing. I
But
wouldn't, what you start with, and it depends
well,
on.
did you know
They
we had
strip it up so much.
now,
Go
did
ahead.
you know we had German slave labour after World War II in this country?
No, so
The
did we.
the Yeah, and the government at the time went against the law, and they
Yeah,
were
well,
actually
here. Oh, go ahead.
no, they were slave labour. Sorry, you was going to say.
Well, same here. We had in our town a canning factory near the railroad, and it was a prisoner of war camp during and after the World War II.
Mm.
And it was German labor. A lot of Germans came, and I'm sure they were paying them a pittance of what they deserved. But
Oh yes.
it
Well,
happened here after the war.
well,
Lots of cheap labor.
I spoke to a German who surrendered soon after D-Day. Well, soon after D-Day, he actually saved a British paratrooper's life. Him and his friend. Marvelous story. They found this poor soul had broken his legs and he was hanging from a tree. They got him down from the tree and they took him to a German frontline field hospital, and the surgeons there patched the chap up and he survived. So they saved his life. And this chap was a musician who played in an orchestra before the war. And it turns out the paratrooper was a musician who played in an orchestra as well. And yes, and but this chap, he was captured by the British, and he was put down a mine after the war in France, slave
He's
labour.
I'll put down. Yeah.
Yeah. But Alice Gorgeous says, hang on, where is it? I take sodium sorbate if I get flu or need to cleanse. It's high dose vitamin C. Well, that's a little bit too late. My particular advice, again, I'm not a doctor. Please don't take this as gospel. If there's any problems, see a quack, doctor. I take Lambert's vitamin C, which actually is slow release, and it lasts 6 hours, because I think it's only primates, guinea pigs, and fruit bats that can't produce their own vitamin C. I mean, they don't know why. It's a weird thing, and we can't produce vitamin C, but dogs can, cats can, and other mammals. And with vitamin C, the best way of taking it is first thing in the morning with water. And I have, I think it's called hydrogen water. It's one of those little machines that fizz all the water up. So I have it in my hydrogen water, and that's the best way of taking vitamin C. And I take that regularly. And if you take, and you'll get the information from Dr. Mayhill, who will be on, quick plug, who will be on make a note in your diaries, please, the 27th of October. So that's about a month's time, and well worth listening to. She's very good. I'm hoping to drag Miles on as well, kicking and screaming. And I think you've got a little plug to do, haven't you, Patrick? Because you're going to be on a show with a very important person.
Yeah, I'm planning on doing a show on Holy Land Radio with Father James Maudsley, who's a Catholic priest, and he was punished during COVID time for going against the lockdowns and keeping his church open. And
Really, I didn't know that. But he
that was
says a
part of
lot
it.
about a certain history we're not allowed to talk about, especially on YouTube and places like that, and certain things that sort of are said to have happened between 1933 and 1945. So very
Yes,
interesting
he's
man,
done an entire series of lectures
well
on it.
researched,
Yeah,
a
well researched.
very. I'll be straight with you. He's very brave, and I think we ought to have like a heroes list. yes, he's a hero, brave man.
Yeah,
And
as a
I think,
cleric, it's you're sticking your head above the parapet. You're down in the trenches. And
yeah.
you're
Now, when is this program coming up? Do you know? When is it?
well, sometime this week, I'm going to talk with him and get it sorted out.
Oh,
Right now,
please put a link on Facebook. Sorry, not Facebook. Telegram.
I will.
Please put a link.
Yeah, I'll post it to Fockham Hall Telegram when I get a
Thank you
chance.
very much. The link is down here. We're very friendly people. I'll post more on there, and I'll actually copy that post and put it onto Gab as well, because the link to
Okay.
Gab is down here as well, and that'll be fantastic. It's bound to be a very interesting show. I'm positive it will be. I think he's taken the gauntlet from Bishop Williamson, who sadly passed away this year. And I have a great lot of admiration for Bishop Williamson as well. So, now Alice Gorgeous says, Patrick, is he Canadian? No, he isn't. He's English.
He's English. He's in England.
Yes. Yes. He speaks very English as well. He speaks
Yeah,
what
he's
they
got
call
the
Queen.
he's got the yep, he's got the accent. Not
Yes,
not
not like
American
mine.
for sure.
Not like mine. No, he's been very well educated. He speaks Queen's English, and he's very careful with his words. And I think he's had, because I've had five of my videos taken down from YouTube, and you've got to have six to become an ace broadcaster. And
Yep.
and I think I don't know. I think he's had a couple. I don't know whether he's out to ace me. I don't know whether he's,
I think they did take well,
yeah,
they've taken his ability to upload. I know that much.
really, because I think you
I
can
think
still
so.
see him on Rumble, but there'll be links there as well. And now, now it says here, Barefoot Foreigner has said, please look into calcium carbonate, Patrick, concrete for your blood.
Yeah, it's not good to consume. And I don't consume it. I use it for brushing my teeth.
Yes. Now, Aunt Sally, salivating as I read this. I do make delicious cakes. I'm making them tonight. Lemon coconut cake, which you had, and also sweet chocolate brownies.
Sweet
all
potato
sugar-free.
chocolate brownies. Sweet
Oh,
potato, wow.
wow.
And chocolate
And
brownies. That sounds
now I've
yummy.
lost it. I found a recipe on YouTube for cheesecake that's not cheese. I shouldn't say this in front of Patrick. So Patrick, please put
Nope.
your hands over your fingers in your ears, please. Made out of chickpeas.
Huh, that's
And so you mash them all up, and make it so sound effects as well.
sounds
So
like
there we
hummus
go.
to me.
Yes, but you're the cheese ambassador. What is the best cheese? Do you have cheddar cheese in
Yes, we
America? Or
have.
is it banned? And do you
Yeah,
you have
I was gonna say we were talking about whey, and then part of the cheese making process, you make a lot of whey, and they don't know what to do with it. And we have dairies all over the place. And one of the dairies around here was the first to do this, where they would take all of their excess whey, and during the winter time, we get icy roads, and they would mix it with salt to form a
really?
sprayable road
Wow,
anti-icing. And that's what they do in a lot of areas around here is they mix up the whey and spray it on the roads. It's
really?
kind of it seems to me a waste, but
Yeah.
no pun intended, a waste. But
Waste.
they
They used to put sand on the road
do.
before they
They
had
still do. They
oh,
still
really?
that's the majority. They put sand, but they were doing this not that long ago. They probably still do it in some areas, but where they don't want sand.
Well, I know that this part of Britain we don't get that much
Ice.
don't get that ice and stuff. We get ice and snow, and if it does snow, it sort of we might settle for a couple of days, and that might be about it. But I don't really like snow very much. I don't like cold. So
We've
I
had a
don't do
couple mild winters the past 2 winters where we didn't get much snow at all. There were only a few times that it snowed, and it all went away fairly quickly. But
right.
there've been winters too where it's been, we've been snowed in and can't get into the nearby town or
Really?
get out of our roads because they haven't plowed. Yeah, there've been times.
Wow.
It gets down to sometimes around -30 Celsius, and even lower sometimes. And those are bitter cold days.
We've had
We usually
-10 here, -10, and that's bloody cold.
yeah.
But, now it says, Barefoot Foreigner has said, "If you're Tom and Dick, sick," bit of rhyming slang there, "vitamin C every hour until" bloody hell, bowel tolerance, I think you would with vitamin C every hour. It gets used up. I wouldn't bother getting off the loo, I'd just stay there all day if I was you. You know? But, now, it's Barefoot Foreigner. This is from All Roads Lead to Rome. "Do you know anything good for acid reflux, as I experienced it tonight, and slight nauseous, uh, not usual for me?" Well, I get slight nausea if I see, Keir Starmer. That gives me a sort of bilious attack, you know. Yes, there is something you can use that Miles sells because, I'm sorry, I hope I'm not overshadowing you, Barefoot Foreigner. Please excuse me if I am. But, Miles says, "No, don't have bicarbonate of soda," which was my old truck, and he gave me something that is a lot better, you know. But over to you, Barefoot Foreigner. So can you answer that one? And,
Yeah, I would try salt water, and I know of a cure of it, but you might not like it.
yeah.
I learned this from people like allegedly Dave
Yes?
that practice urine therapy.
Oh, yes, allegedly Dave with his wee-wee, yes.
Yeah, that's a cure of acid reflux. You wouldn't expect it,
Really?
but it is.
So, a fine brew. But actually, it's a long time. He hasn't come on this show for a long time. He's been on this show, hasn't he? It's about time I dragged him. Was he on one of your shows, Patrick? Or
No, I've never talked to him. I've talked to
really?
Bryzer out of Ireland and Graham Hart,
Yeah.
and they were talking about him.
Oh,
And
Graham
they had
Hart.
another
Yes,
character.
yes, because he's from Essex. Would you believe it? And he was born in Essex, and he yes, he has urine therapy allegedly.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't see eye to eye with him on the flat Earth stuff,
Oh,
but he's into that too.
yeah.
I know that.
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Now, I think that I think I have a certain palate for that. But well, this is a true story, and it sounds like an old wives' tale. But a friend of my mother's, when my mum was pregnant, her friend was pregnant as well, and she had to take a urine sample to the doctors. I think you probably know what's coming up now. And in those days, and I'm going back a few years now, I was born, you didn't get urine bottles or anything like that. You had to find a container to put the urine in. So she put it in a whiskey bottle, went into a shop. When she came out, it was stolen. Oh, it was just
Surprise, surprise.
this bloody whiskey tastes a bit strange, doesn't it? It's a bit weird. Now, AS Gold just says, "I live in Derbyshire." Oh, you poor soul. Well, sorry to hear that. And we love snow. You're welcome to it. That's good. No, Derbyshire is beautiful, actually. It really is lovely, lovely countryside there. It's sort of beautiful rolling hills, typical English, that is. Yes. Um,
It's the Shire. You got the word Shire at
yes,
the end. It's got to be good.
Derbyshire. Yes. Might be the eclipse energies. That's what, due to his acid reflux? It could be, yeah.
It
Yeah.
could be.
Yeah,
Get
you
get
know.
more water. That might be another thing that helps.
That might get. The thing
I,
is,
ki- I kind of notice when my dog drinks water and when he doesn't, and if he's drinking a lot of water, it's probably a good idea for me to drink a lot of water, only because animal nature being what it is, we share that in
well,
common with animals. So keep
well,
keep that in mind too. Watch
well,
the animals what they do.
where I live, the water tastes as if it's been passed by the local council. I mean, it's so bad. It's
Mm.
all. That's why I use zero water filters and things like that.
You
But
got to get your own well, do your own pump.
yes, you can do that actually here. You can get someone to dig you a well, and it goes. They put a pipe down, and you
Yeah.
just have a little tap, and it comes out. I think you sometimes have to have a motor to draw the water up, but you
Well, yeah,
can.
you just take a pipe down and then you elbow it into your house and you have a pump in your house and run it
Yeah,
into your plumbing.
it costs quite a bit of money though. I think to do it in this
It
country.
does, but it's worth it. I think if you've got city water and they're putting fluoride and who knows what else, chlorine,
Well,
ick.
there's chlorine in it, but they say that there's no fluoride yet. But
Well, even the
what I
chlorine
do,
is terrible. And it depends where
when,
you are. If you're in a
yeah,
swamp, you're going to have
oh yeah.
terrible water. Stagnant water isn't good for you,
Well, I've got a
typically.
survival straw that you can go to any water, go and suck it up, and it will be nice, clean water that comes out. That's for my emergency pack, so that if anything happens where I have to leave the home quickly, I've got 3 days of supplies on me. So 3 days of food, a tinned food, and this emergency straw. So because I wouldn't take water with me. Well, I take a little bit of water with me, but it's weight. So with this straw, it lasts for a long time. Have you seen? I don't know if you've seen those emergency straws at
Yeah,
all.
I've seen those.
Yeah,
Yep,
they're
they
pretty good.
filter it out.
Yeah, but it's always wise, and especially in today's climate, to have an emergency pack. And I'm hoping to get Survival Steve on to talk about that, the things that you take with you. But again, you can only take about. I've only got 3 days of food, and that's it. And also remember to take a tin opener with you.
Yeah, or have a knife that you can
Yeah.
pound a hole
Well,
in
it's
the
a Swiss
tin.
Army knife. That's the thing.
Right.
But it's surprising how much you need to take with you. I mean, this thing's pretty heavy, and it. But and also make sure the tins turn them round a lot. But it's everything for high energy protein, lots of protein. That's it. Now, Barefoot Foreigner says stevia is the family planning herb. That's correct. Yes, it's sort of it's used in South America for. And that's why I don't have it for, and it does other things. It's not that good. And now was it Aunt Sally said something I missed here? Where is it now? She said something about xylitol. Where is it, Aunt Sally? You said something about it. Hereditary Skeptic said, "We are the children of the sun." Yes.
Yeah,
Here it is.
that's
Here it is.
go
Sorry,
ahead.
carry on. No. Please carry on.
Well, the sunlight is something people nowadays don't get very much of, and I
Yeah.
notice this with people at work. They'll sit there in their workspace and have the light off, and it's quite common, and they don't get enough sleep because they stay up late playing video games or watching television, and sleep is another thing that people lack, especially with
Yeah.
all the modern conveniences of lights, electric lights, and people
Oh
used to
yeah.
go to sleep when the sun went down, or even went
That's right.
before it started going down.
Well, this thing where they only had 1 or 2 meals a day, that was up until it's only 3 meals a day. Has only come in the last 100 years or so? Not that long.
Yeah,
But
and then the Amish, they don't have electricity in their homes, they don't have televisions, so they entertain themselves and make children.
yes, and
And,
they're very good at it as well.
you know,
They're very fit and healthy children as well. And
they don't
I
give
think
them
they're
vaccines either.
no, and I think they're probably one of the happiest people around. I mean, I've never met an Amish because we don't have them over here, but I should think they're extremely happy people. But I don't know how they get away with not paying. Do they pay income tax or anything like that, or do they say?
They do something where they pool their money, and they do a
Mm.
lot of cash business, but I'm sure they
Good, that's
somehow
what
or
I like.
another
Yeah,
get get around it.
I'd love to meet an Amish. It must be very interesting people to speak to. I mean,
They
are they very
speak a
friendly?
type of Dutch called Pennsylvania Dutch
Really?
language. They're Calvinists, so
Mm.
they have the religious background of a
Mm.
Calvinist, and
Are they
speak they speak with an accent. It's kind of almost like a hick sounding accent. I don't know if
really?
you got the notion of an American hick that
Yeah.
it's kind of got
Yeah.
the drawl like this and that. They talk a bit like that.
Are they very insular or are they quite
Yeah, they're
friendly?
very insular, very quiet, humble,
Mm.
and they dress the same. They're all costumed the same.
Yeah.
Women always have a head covering and a long dress down to their ankles, and then the
Hey,
men have their wives make them. Most of it, the clothing is handmade,
good
and
heavens.
they wear their hats and they wear a big beard. Typically, the men, if they're married.
Yeah. Was that film that was Harrison Ford, was it? I can't remember what it's called now, where he's amongst the
I saw parts of that. Yeah, I think
what's it called? It's quite a good film actually, but because they didn't like the gun being in the house, did they? And that type of thing. I think they're pacifists, and
Yeah, I've
but
never seen them carry guns or even talk about.
how do
I've
they
never
slaughter
even
their
really heard them.
animals? How
They
do they
have
slaughter?
animals all over. They
Yeah, but how do
were
they
they.
slaughter them?
What's that?
How do they slaughter them if they ain't got a gun? I just sort of
I don't
excuse
know.
me.
Maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe they just keep it for that reason.
Hmm.
You see them in our town. You'll know where they've been because you see the horse droppings
Yes,
all over town.
there's lots of very nice
In
roses
carriages.
around
Yes.
town. I would have thought because there used to be when I was a kid a horse-drawn. What was it now? I think the milkman had a horse, and I'm very young, and they're thinking, how old is this geezer? No, I'm not that old. And when it dropped its load, there's some keen gardeners where we used to live. They used to almost be elbowing each other, get horse droppings for their roses and
Oh yeah,
rhubarb.
yeah. It's good
Yeah,
stuff.
it
And
is.
they use their animals, the oxen and all that, to plow fields and horses to plow
Really?
fields.
Yeah. But I like the way they move cabins as well. Loads of them.
You've seen
Right.
those, yeah,
I've
and then
seen
build the
those films.
barns.
They're fascinating people. I mean, I'm not sure I'd like to go back to the 16th century, but I mean, they are
No,
fascinating people. Now, Aunt Sally said, by the way, xylitol is extremely poisonous to dogs. For anyone who wants to use it, it's also in most chewing gum. I didn't know that.
that's right. Yeah,
I think xylitol doesn't it come from pine
I don't know
trees?
where xylitol comes from. I know the
Hmm.
chewing gum they'd make that from pine, from
Oh,
the sap, from
yeah,
they
okay.
make
I mean,
turpentine and all that. In fact, turpentine, it was a common remedy ages ago, like over 100 years ago. It was the most common ingredient in most medicines was turpentine. They give it
really?
for everything. You look at the old Merck manual from
Hmm.
the turn of the century, and most of the ingredients include turpentine in the medicines that they would list on the Merck manual.
Ah,
It's supposed to be
well,
really good for you.
really, turpentine is something that something I thought you wash your paintbrushes out
You
in.
do. You do.
But we have, was it Terps substitute over here, don't we?
Right,
There's a,
you want the natural stuff.
yeah.
I've
I wouldn't
I've
drink
never
that.
really taken it myself, but
No,
I
nor
I
have
know they used to make chewing gum. They still make chewing gum
I. Really?
with it, with the sap,
Because
and
I
it's
think,
supposed to be really good. Like the Indians here used to chew just pine sap on a
really,
regular basis, and it'd become like a chewing gum type thing.
yeah. Because chewing gum, I think I lost one of my teeth. I used to chew gum and
Ah,
then lost a tooth
or yeah,
because,
you could pull a filling pretty easily
yeah,
or something.
yeah, it's like Russian roulette with your fillings. Yeah. Um, Now, all roads lead to Rome says, I drink loads of water. Oh, you're talking about your acid reflux or something. But did I hear that bicarbonate is not good? Sorry, I joined late tonight. Yes, what happened is I went to see Dr. Miles Fleetwood, who runs Abbey Health Foods, and I said, "Oh, I have a little bit of acid reflux, and I take bicarbonate soda with." No, not good, slap wrists. And he gave me something by a firm called A. Vogel. Now, they're a Swiss firm, and he sells their tinctures and things like that. I haven't got the bleeding foggiest idea what it was. But what you do, you just put a couple of drops in some water, a little drop of water, and you drink it. It just goes like that. And so your acid reflux goes instantly. Far better than anything else. But I can't remember what it was. I'm ever so sorry. I don't know. But uh,
Salt water. Try salt water, and then you could also try oxymel, which is 1 part honey, 1 part vinegar,
hmm,
and that's also very good for digestion, especially
really?
inflammation.
That's
It's an
interesting.
ancient medicine, and it the Greeks talk about it. Even Hippocrates mentions it
Really?
often.
Yeah. Well, the
For
Greeks are
ailments.
well up with herbs, natural medicine. They're very much on their islands and that. They've got doctors that practice it a lot. And Alice Gorgeous, unlike Aunt Sally, who's usually in the bath, says, I'm off to bed now. Thank you very much for the company, chaps. Well, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Alice.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Uh, Now, Aradris Getfucked says, hang on, press the button. Only us idiots who pay tax. If you use your feet, I'll
I'll
tax the
tax the
street.
street. That's
Yes,
and I'm the tax man.
yes. And quite honestly, tax is theft. There's not whatever they say about it because it does
George,
not go. Sorry?
I don't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. I'll say my
No,
thought.
no, he was going to say George Washington
George
was born.
Harrison. George Harrison
George
wrote that
Harrison,
song. That was the lyric that he just mentioned there from
really,
that song, Taxman.
is the tax man. I remember that, yes. But
It's a
the
Beatles
thing is,
song.
what we always get to is usury. Usury is the problem. And instead of marching through London, wouldn't it have been much better if people would have stood outside? We can't stand outside number 10 anymore because they've fenced it off. But shall we say the gates adjacent to that number 10 Downing Street with a silent vigil and saying, end usury now. Arrest the usury scammers, but don't say a word. Just hold them.
Speaking of George Harrison and usury, one of the last songs that he wrote before he died on his last album, it was a song called P2 Vatican Blues. And I don't know if you're familiar with the P2 Masonic Lodge in
Yes,
Italy and the
well,
Vatican
I'm not a
banking
member of it.
scandal. I know
I'm a
you're
mem-
not. I know.
I remember when a chap was killed by P2 and London Bridge, and he was found with 2 pieces of masonry in his pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what he was referring to in that song. And he didn't
Really?
live very much longer after that song. And somebody came and he stabbed him while he was in bed or something, climbed over his
Really?
wall. George
What,
Harrison, yeah.
George Harrison? I didn't know that.
You
Hmm.
didn't yeah, that's how he died. He died I think the wounds from the stabbing, you know, affected him and he ended up dying from them later on.
It's like politicians that try and end usury. They usually end up in a wooden overcoat, don't they?
Yeah.
That's the usual sort of thing. They have arranged accidents or arranged heart attacks. That's the usual one, isn't it? But no, that's the thing. Anyway, we come to the end, near the end of the show. It's been this is the fastest 2 hours in history. This is very fast 2 hours. Thanks, Patrick. It's been really great tonight. And I really enjoyed tonight's show. I enjoy every show. And what's today? We're back tomorrow. I've got the foggiest idea what we're going to talk about tomorrow, and there might be a guest on. Are you free tomorrow, Patrick?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I may be. I may be free. If I'm on the factory floor making parts like I was this last week, I might not be for the first hour, but at least the second hour.
Really? What
If
parts
I'm
you
not
make?
doing that,
What
I make
parts?
we make these earplugs, and when they
Hang on,
sell them at
hang on, hang
Walmart
on.
here,
Now, unfortunately, I've looked everywhere. They do not sell the the earphones.
the plug phones.
No, they don't sell them here.
No,
They
I
don't sell
I,
'em.
I wouldn't imagine they're made by 3M.
Hang on,
And
hang on. I've got your package here. Just one moment. And here they are.
yeah, I
I can.
sent you some. I found a clever way of sending them through the mail. Yep, that's it.
That's it. That's
I
it.
sit and make those all day
Yes.
long.
I looked everywhere and I just couldn't get them. They're not available in the United Kingdom, I'm afraid.
Airline pilots use them. It's quite common, and
Really?
for
Yeah,
communications units.
yeah, but yeah,
I came up with a clever method of sending them to you in a vacuum sealed
that's
bag
right. You went to all that
because
trouble, and then I tried. I just couldn't find them.
that's all right.
Looked everywhere, and I feel, but I still got them.
It was no trouble at all. Actually,
But
we found the method of getting them.
but I'm probably the only person in Great Britain that's got these.
You
So there we
probably
are.
are. You
That's
probably
it.
are.
So I could now brag that I've got some of these plugs all the way from Wisconsin.
I'll have to send you a headset. You know, they're
Uh,
cheap enough, and if the problem is, like I said, you had to
it
squeeze them
cost you a
down.
fortune. No,
Because
it cost you a
yeah,
fortune.
if they're just a few millimeters beyond it,
I
you
know.
pay $40 versus $4. It's nuts.
It's
The
like over
shipping
here.
costs.
It's like over here, and it's the size of it now. They measure it carefully and all this sort of stuff. I mean, once upon a time, postage was so cheap you didn't even think about it. And I used to send stuff to my cousins in America and it wasn't that expensive really. Nowadays, cool, cost your arm and a leg. But Hello, hello, hello. Who have we got in here? We've got Survival Steve. Thanks, guys.
What's up, Steve?
Hello, mate. And oh, well, yeah, Paul English is coming on tomorrow, isn't he? He's
Oh, that'll be
coming on.
good.
Yes. And we got answering. Thank you, lads, for a great show. Very interesting. Thank you very much. And we did keep to the script. We talked about mind infiltration. People have said, "Oh, we can't don't even go off the subject." We did a bit, didn't we? But you know, and we got something exciting coming up as well. Now, you had the Father Maudsley thing to say. There was something else you was going to mention, wasn't there? Wasn't there another one?
Other than doing the Paul English show on Thursday, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe there is. I forgot. I don't recall. But
Anyway,
yeah,
so
good show. Thank you.
thank you very much. And also, as soon as Patrick, sends me the details, it might probably be in the early hours. I don't know. It shouldn't be, because if he's calling from England, it will be.
Yeah, that'd be at a reasonable time.
Yeah, it'd be a reasonable time. Yeah, so that should be okay. So there we go. So thank you very much for joining us this evening. And as I'm waffling here, I'm now looking for the outro, which do you fancy an outro this week? We could have. And I
Yeah,
can't
why not?
bloody find it. Why not? And I can't bleed and find it. I'm afraid that I can't find an outro. It's locked up. So we'll just have to.
No worries.
Come on, that's it. Well, anything to say to our audience before we go?
Yeah, God bless. Catch us on Thursday with Paul English. That'll be fun. It's always a good time with Paul.
Yes, it's good. That's great. And also, we're going to have a Saturday show, aren't we? I think
That's right. Yep. There's a Saturday show coming up. Not this week. I don't. Oh, maybe this week. I don't
know.
We'll see. We'll see.
And also, we got a record show coming up as well. We was gonna have a word about that, wasn't we?
Yeah. Well, we might incorporate that into the Saturday show for part of it, because I've got a big record collection and I can play a couple tunes to give us a little break from talking for a bit.
Yeah.
And do
Why
that.
not?
Why not?
That's an idea. I was thinking of was it the world's worst record spot, but I don't know whether we'd have many listeners listen to it.
I think, well, if we wanted to turn around and get new listeners, and that's a way of getting rid of the old listeners, so we can just rotate people in and out, that might be a way to do it.
Yes, we could have suggestions, couldn't we? Like
what was opera, and we had that hillbilly song about his he wants his baby back.
Oh, that's it. Yes,
he digs the grave.
William Shatner trying to sing, not a very nice sound. It frightens the horses and the fields and things like that.
Yeah, Leonard Nimoy, Bilbo Baggins song.
Yes.
You ever heard Bilbo Baggins by Leonard Nimoy?
Yes.
Oh man, it's an earworm.
I did. It's painful, wasn't it? It was so bad. It's so bad. It's always good. And then,
yep.
What is it? William Shatner. I think there's only him and the Chinese bloke that's left, isn't there, from Star Trek?
Could be. Yeah. That's quite a while ago that show was out.
Oh, bloody hell, yeah. It's ancient. And yes, but I was going to have a Star Trek man on tonight, a Trekkie, because I said it's a political thing, and I don't think the man that's coming on thinks it was. So we was going to sort of have a polite, gentlemanly discussion about it, because I couldn't stand Star Trek. It was a lot of crap. But
I never got into it.
No, because they all, excuse my language, all the actors looked as if they walked around with a cucumber up their arse.
Yeah,
yes, here we go. And what got me is all the planets had perfect gravity and air that they could breathe. Oh, right. And all the aliens spoke English. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Anyway, just leaves me to say thank you to our guest, Patrick. It's really much appreciated coming on tonight. And thank you, everyone in chat. It's been a fantastic show. Please join us tomorrow night, same time, 8 o'clock, on YouTube. And it'll be a YouTube show tomorrow. And so we've got to be kept. Well, we broadcast on both now, Rumble and YouTube. And also on Thursday with Paul English live on Rumble. So thanks, Patrick. And it just leaves me to say good night. And whatever happens, put your thumbs up, Please subscribe and have a bloody good laugh. And good night.